At 9, let's get a news update, and it's good morning to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. A Slieve League remains closed off for a fourth day. It's understood Garda are trying to track down the family of a man who has been missing since the weekend. It's believed the man may have been the victim of a serious assault. Barry White has more.
Garda have been liaising with police in Northern Ireland in a bid to find the whereabouts of a man who may have been seriously assaulted. A search for the alleged victim, who's understood to be in his mid-60s and originally from Northern Ireland, is continuing this morning. At this stage, nobody has come forward to report the man as missing. However, Garda believe he may have been the victim of a serious assault over the weekend and are treating this as a potential murder case. Slieve League in County Donegal remains closed off to the public this morning. It's the fourth day in a row that the popular tourist destination, which would get thousands of visitors each week, has been closed.
A Donegal deputy has accused hotels of price gouging by charging high prices on the dates of Taylor Swift's gigs in Dublin next year. Deputy Thomas Pringle has told the Dáil that you cannot secure a hotel room for less than €350 on the weekend of the concerts next June. He claims people are being denied access to live events due to the high costs.
How is this accessible for my constituents in Donegal, Taoiseach, who are undoubtedly the most affected by this disgraceful display of greed because of their distance from the capital? It is yet again another example of the immense greed and selfishness that has taken hold in this country. This is an accessibility issue, Taoiseach, and yet again affects my constituents more than others.
Well, in responding to Deputy Pringle, the Taoiseach says capitalising on big events is bad business.
I've made the point very strongly back to them is that price gouging and taking advantage of people and hiking prices on very popular weekends is bad business. It's how your business gets a bad reputation, it's how your city or town gets a bad reputation, and it's how your wider industry gets a bad reputation.
It's the turn of the Public Accounts Committee to grill RTE board members and executives later. They will face further questions over the Ryan Tubridy pay saga after criticism over yesterday's committee appearance. Bosses face questions from the Media Committee, with the Minister Catherine Martin saying afterwards that she expects more transparency today. Chair of the PAC, Brian Stanley, says he would like clarity as to why Ryan Tubridy's published salary was misrepresented.
The reasons we've heard so far is that we had to pay him because he may walk. But for God's sake, if you're getting 495,000 of an income, you're going to walk. The first question I would ask if it was on the RTE board is, walk where?
Weather now, sunny spells and scattered showers today in a moderate westerly wind. Highest temperatures of 16 to 18 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Summer is here, and that's why SuperValue is making sure it's the summer of savings. Enjoy great offers like selected Persil pods, liquid and powder, only €7 each. Exclusive to Real Rewards members only. And money off vouchers every week on the app. For a summer of savings, it's got to be SuperValue. T's and C's apply.
The county's number one talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning to you. Just approaching, in fact, just turning 4 minutes past 9 on this Thursday, the 29th of June, 2023. A very good morning to you. How are you getting on? I hope you're all very well indeed, and I hope you're involved in the show over the next 3 hours. It's a busy one as always. Amber Barrett's going to be joining us ahead of her heading out to the World Cup representing Ireland and Donegal, of course. Following on from our conversation with Des yesterday, we speak to a listener whose daughter has battled with ME and is improving. We'll also have an appeal from Garda Síochána as it relates to that ongoing incident at Slieve League. There's a conversation a little later on about plans to tackle gambling on an all-Ireland basis, and we'll be speaking to Vicky Gill, who won gold at the Special Olympics. And there's also going to be more information on that controversial move by government to have all of our data stored, our mobile data stored for a year. That, and as I say, so much more besides. I just wanted to give you a sense of what you can enjoy over the next 3 hours. We're also going to be giving away tickets to our premiere, an Irish premiere of Elemental, the new Disney film. We had one winner already on Monday. He was excellent. Shall we have a wee listen, just to give you an idea of what's going on here? Here he is. This was sent in on Monday to us.
Hey there, I want to take it for him because I'm very good to my dog, BJ.
That's it. That's all we needed from you. And you and I think it was a cousin and brother and sister and a parent, I think it's going anyway. Either way, that was our Monday winner. The lines are open for that again as well. I'll give you more details of when and where, but it's a proper premiere of Disney's latest film, Elemental. And if you want to be with a chance to win, then send in a video or a voice message of your young person saying why. All you have to do is be good to your dog to 086 60 25,000. We can have a wee bit of fun with that as well. And it's family tickets to the premiere, but we're conscious that everyone's family is made up in different ways, so we'll work with you to make sure no one misses out, if you get where I'm coming from, right? Okay, right, let's look at the newspapers. It is a Thursday, which is always a busy day, isn't it, for the newspapers. The Donegal people, the Derry People Donegal News, they lead with Slieve League probe continues. Garda were last night expected to make a decision on the next stage in their investigation into alleged assault in Slieve League. The popular tourist area yesterday remained closed off to the public in the wake of the alleged incident in the Slieve League Killybegs area, which occurred sometime between Saturday, June 24th and the following evening. A major search got underway on Monday morning at Slieve League, which is the setting for Europe's high sea cliffs. The area, which is usually busy with tourists, was closed off by Garda to facilitate searches by multi-agency groups, including the Irish Coast Guard, the Rescue 118 helicopter and the Donegal Mountain Rescue Team. A house in the Killybegs area has also been sealed off since Monday. Forensics officers have carried out a search of the property. As I say, we'll have an appeal from Garda Síochána very shortly on that. Hopefully, I think it would be very helpful at this point is if we had just some more information as to what is going on. The Donegal Democrat leads with that story also, so I'll go inside to read a court report. A man who is charged with causing €130,000 worth of damage to a house in an arson attack has been given one last chance after breaching his bail conditions. Glenn Friel, a 23-year-old whose address is given as no fixed abode, was arrested on Monday and brought before Tuesday's sitting of Letterkenny Circuit Court, where a bail application on his behalf was made. The court heard that Friel has committed 4 offences, including arson, since the incident in Killybegs on April 22nd, 2020. He pled guilty to that offence. In objecting to bail, Garda informed the court that Friel has not signed on at a Garda station since, despite being due to do so twice a week. Well, I'll get down to the findings of the judge. Friel took to the witness box and said he hadn't appeared at court on 2 dates in December 2022 as he wasn't well. He told the court that he hasn't worked since last year. Friel said he was unaware that he was due to sign on and told Judge John Aylmer that he was prepared to abide by conditions set by the court. Mr. Nolan asked the court to be as lenient as possible. Judge Aylmer noted that Friel wasn't hiding from Garda and has a very significant history of mental health issues, and he will give him one last chance. Okay. The Tyrconnell Tribune this morning tells us that the GoFundMe campaign founded in response to the Creasla tragedy that raised almost €700,000 saw the funds distributed to the intended recipients in recent days. A total of 693,000 plus was raised, and a final tally of 661,000 plus was distributed once the GoFundMe and legal fees were deducted. The campaign was initiated by Jared McFadden from Ards Creasla while he was resident in Brisbane, Australia, and was the second largest fundraising event in Ireland on the platform in 2022. The GoFundMe account alone raised 519 plus thousand to help the families of the deceased and injured, but a significant amount of money was added to that tally from a number of fundraising events that took place locally, nationally and internationally. It was a superb response, and it's good to see that all that money now has been distributed to those for whom it was raised. The Derry News, their headline is mostly a tragic picture, tributes paid to Derry teenager Caitlin McLaughlin. Caitlin was a light to her friends. And the picture is the coffin of 16-year-old Caitlin being carried into St. Joseph's Church for Requiem Mass. On to the nationals now, and it may not surprise you to learn that the RTE story is everywhere again. Not just the front, but all over the insides of it. So we'll just start with one of them, the Irish Times here. RTE chairperson Shinny Rallia has acknowledged shocking governance failings in the national broadcaster as it faces into a deepening conflict with star presenter Ryan Tubridy over hidden payments in a deal with Renault. Facing into a second week of crisis after saying it published misleading information about Mr Tubridy's pay for years, RTE told the Oireachtas Committee on Media yesterday that it is untenable for him to return to his radio show while the controversy remains unresolved. Now, they never said that, by the way. That's a bit of a leap from the newspaper, because I watched pretty much all of it. The acting DG wouldn't really talk about Ryan Tubridy's future. He simply said that it would be impossible for him to be on the radio at the moment from an editorial perspective whilst he was at the heart of a controversy. Well, questioned for 4 hours at the Oireachtas Media Committee, the board chair said she personally has come to lack confidence in the organisation's culture, saying it must change in the wake of the debacle. It is shocking. This is just a complete lapse of governance, she told TDs and senators. It's a culture that's in there that accepts, well, that's approved by the Director General, so I'm not going to talk about it, and I think all the people who now would agree that's wrong. So you would think, wouldn't you, that the culture's changed? Well, it hasn't really, because Patrick Kilty's been signed up has been signed up to present the Late Late Show. But of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people that were there, one of them had negotiated the deal, and they were asked were the contract signed. The chairperson didn't know. The acting Attorney General didn't know. They didn't know if Patrick Kilty's contract had been signed, and then it fell to the head of finance to say, well, yes, it was. I thought that was remarkable. They talk about a culture of siloing. You know, what that means effectively is people do their own thing and there's no communication. And yet here we have the most latest contract being negotiated, and it's siloed as well. You had the chief financial guy knew, but the acting DG didn't, and neither did the chairperson of RTE. And then down to critical questions like why were these documents, what are they called again, these invoices, why were they down as consultancy fees? Well, everyone's gone that would know except one person. It was Geraldine O'Leary who was there, but she couldn't remember. That's the bit she couldn't remember. She could remember that there was an urgency. She could remember the amount, but she was the only person of all of them that could tell us as to why these were signed as consultancy fees. She had a lapse of memory in that regard. What else happened at it that was really quite interesting? There was lots. It's hard to put my finger on it. It will come as the morning goes. As the morning goes on, I'm sure. The organisation now faces the prospect of a contract dispute with Mr Tubridy, former host of the flagship Late Late Show programme. Well, that's another interesting thing because his contract status changed throughout the course of the 4 hours. It began with he was out of contract. By the end, and someone must have been getting text messages off the back of Ryan Tubridy having a close sports source speaking out, it turned out he was still in contract. The radio portion of his contract was still in place. But at the beginning, the acting DG very, very clearly said that he was out of contract, that a new contract was being negotiated, and that those negotiations, like all negotiations, had been suspended pending review. But by the end of the conversation, he actually was still being paid. He was still in contract, and it just wasn't quite as it was being laid out. But anyway, listen, if you watch that, if you're interested, let us know. 086 60 25,000. The Independent is wedged with that stuff too, so I've eked out another story here. It's a bit of a shocker here. More than a quarter of emergency beds for the homeless are currently occupied by employed people, according to the Dublin Simon community. So emergency beds, obviously, are people who don't have a house, don't have somewhere to stay. They avail of the emergency beds, but 1 in 4 of them actually have a job. Cleaners, security staff, taxi drivers, drivers, van and lorry drivers, scaffolders, electricians, construction workers, healthcare assistants and carers, shop workers, barbers and bar workers are among the workers using the service. Staff at Dublin Simon said increasing numbers of working people have nowhere to live. On a night earlier this month, 33 of the charity's 129 emergency beds were occupied by workers. The charity has said the growing phenomenon can be attributed to a number of factors, including the scarcity of suitable accommodation, soaring rents, the wider cost of living crisis, and notices to quit coming to the end of their terms. I think that's really, really shocking. On to the Irish Daily Mail now, and the state is facing a legal case over its decision to compel telecommunications providers to retain the data of all citizens due to security concerns. Earlier this week, Justice Minister Helen McEntee obtained a High Court order requiring phone companies, effectively, such as Three and Vodafone, to retain data, including user traffic and location data for 12 months in order to safeguard the security of the state. Now, if you aren't aware, I am aware, I don't really mind it, but if you asked me, right, because I haven't switched off, if you asked me precisely where I was on any given day at any given time over the last 10 years, I could tell you exactly where I was, because I could go into Google Maps, I could go into Activity, which you can do now. Get your phone out, go into Google Maps, go into Activity. If you haven't switched it off, very few people do, it logs your movements all of the time. It knows exactly where you are, what you're doing. So you could give me any date, any time over the last 10 years, and I could tell you precisely where I was at that time. If I was in the car, I could tell you in the car. If I was walking, I could tell you if I was at home, because all of that data is stored. So I don't really mind that, because I'm not really up to anything that bothers me. I don't think an awful lot of people realise that level of tracking is in your pocket, but it is. But anyway, even if you don't like that, you switch it off, the government will have full access to what you do, where you are for 12 months. Ms McEntee was able to secure the order because she was satisfied there existed a serious and genuine present or foreseeable threat to the security of the state, which I think is important we know what that is. It was also secured on the basis of the Communications Retention of Data Act. The High Court hearing was held without representation from other concerned groups in camera, meaning there was no one else present at the hearing, which is, again, really quite remarkable. TJ McIntyre, an associate professor at the UCD School of Law and chair of Digital Rights Ireland, confirmed that he would be bringing a case on behalf of DRI against the state over Ms McEntee's move. And I believe TJ is going to join us later on the show to tell us what his concerns are and what the basis of that action he takes might be. I think that's something we should all have an interest in. As I say, I'm not particularly concerned, but others may well be. The Irish Farmers Journal, finisher frustrations mounting as beef prices continue to fall. Irish beef finishers are currently losing €300 a head on store cattle purchased this spring. Fears are now growing about the knock-on effect for the autumn weanling and store trade. Bullock base prices have dropped to €4.90 a kg, with heifers at €4.95 a kg to €5 a kg. There are indications of further price cuts to come. The annual summer price poll is 6 weeks earlier than normal, with prices now 20 cent a kilogram to 25 cent per kilogram, back on this time last year. And that's something we discussed with the ICSA earlier in the week. Patrick Kilty, this is in the Star today. Patrick Kilty's salary as Late Late host could be made public as early as tomorrow. As it emerged, he's not opposed to the idea. Now, Ryan Tubridy, I'm not sure that he confirmed that he would be comfortable with all of his financial dealings being made public, but they were. Patrick Kilty apparently has to agree before we find out how our money's being spent, which I think really is quite remarkable, that we have one individual that can really block whether or not we know. Nothing against Patrick Kilty, it's just the setup. It comes after Fianna Fáil TD Niamh Smith questioned the RTE board yesterday on how soon they'll be making the Northern Irishman's salary public ahead of the Debbie hosting the Friday night chat show in September. Now, if I was a betting man, and sometimes I am, not much though, I would say he will never take over that role for a number of reasons. A, why face that scrutiny? B, the toxicity of this controversy. C, it would be a tough gig anyway. B, he doesn't need it. You know, I mean, we haven't even dug into what expenses he's going to get for travelling to and from London. Personally, if the figure's high, if it's in the same ballpark as Ryan was getting, I have a really good sense that Well, I just don't think he'll ever present that show. But anyway, we could know Friday what he's earning. I'm not really interested in what he's earning, but some people are. Right, this is a story I think that will annoy quite a few people, but I'll read it anyway and see what you think. A Garda has appeared in court accused of dangerous driving and endangerment of life. This is the Irish Sun. Garda John Francis Ryan of Tallaght Station is charged after a probe into the deaths of 3 burglars in a collision on the N7 in Dublin on July 7th, 21. Dean Maguire, Carl Freeman, Graham Taylor, they all died instantly when their BMW burst into flames following a head-on crash with a truck while they were driving on the wrong side of the road, fleeing Gardaí. Now, a file was submitted to the DPP by GSOC, which investigated the crash. They then directed a prosecution over the pursuit of the 3 men who were members of a Tallaght gang. Now, Garda Ryan yesterday appeared before Judge Joanne Carroll at Dublin District Court. He's accused of endangerment of life and 3 dangerous driving raps. When the case was called, though, he stood next to his solicitor, Elizabeth Hughes. However, the judge then asked if there was a representative for the DPP. Designated GSOC investigating officer Sean Campbell said there was a request and there does not appear to be anyone here, he added. I've been into the office and I don't believe that there'll be anybody here. Crazy stuff. The DPP simply didn't turn up. A wasted day for that Garda. More stress, I'm sure, for all involved. And that was adjourned then on to October 4th for a plea. Maybe the DPP might get off their bums and get along to that. And finally, in the Irish Daily Mirror, EU chiefs, or overlords, are to push ahead with controversial plans to turn the euro into a digital currency, despite banks warning that it is wide open to fraud. The European Central Bank has been pursuing a digital euro currency since 2020 in a bid to plug a gap that could be exploited by private firms or other central banks. Supporters claim it would complement cash, increase the speed of transactions and reduce costs for financial service providers by shifting spending away from physical infrastructure in favour of digital finance. But German MEP Markus Ferber branded it a solution in search of a problem, while fears of a financial crash due to technological instability or stability of a digital system were also raised, and it does sound very much like a large step in the direction of us going cashless. That's how it feels anyway. Right, okay, loads to get through. Stay right where you are.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the 2022 C-Store National Off-Licence of the Year.
The 9 till noon show with the Lennon Festival Ramelton from the 6th to the 10th of July. Save the date and gather your friends for an incredible lineup featuring Sharon Shannon, ABBA Sensations and Jimmy Buckley.
It's time to get your play underway. Switch to Virgin Media Superfast 500 meg broadband for just €39 a month and get a free €100 one-for-all voucher. Grab this unmissable online exclusive at virginmedia.ie. Virgin Media. It's playtime.
Offer ends 29th of June 2023. Terms and conditions apply. See virginmedia.ie.
At Heron Auto Opel, we're a full type of people, which is how we come up with the Opel 50/50 finance offer. Choose from the Opel Crossland, Corsa or Mokka. Select your flexible payment option, pair it with 3 years free servicing and meet your new other half. Discover more about Opel's 50/50 offer at the Opel Open Road event. See heronopel.ie for details. Finance is provided by way of a consumer hire purchase agreement by Bank of Ireland Finance. Lending criteria and conditions apply. Over 18s only. Ownership remains with Bank of Ireland until the final payment is made. Bank of Ireland trading as of Bank of Ireland Finance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
With July around the corner, it's time to get your 232 ordered. With finance starting from 2.9%, find out why Kia is dominating the Irish market with diesel, hybrid and electric models. Order before the 30th of June and receive a €500 Super Value gift card as well. Call into iMotors today and choose your new Kia.
Join me, Marty Friel, every Friday night from 8 for Rockin' Hits on Highland Radio in association with Arena 7, where you can enjoy dinner and drinks in Woodbury Grill, Bar and Restaurant before bowling in Arena 7's state-of-the-art lanes. See arena7.ie.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
Okay, the time's now 24 minutes past 9. We're joined on the programme by Superintendent Karen, well, we'll go to that in a moment, will we? Okay, we'll go to that in a moment. Just to remind you what's coming up on the... Do you have those other comments, or you can't bring those into me now? Just to remind you what's coming up on the programme. Amber Barrett's going to be joining us in this hour as well, so stay tuned for that. We'll get a reaction to the Donegal woman and her selection on the Women's World Cup squad. Are you excited about that? Let us know. 086 60 25,000. Right, okay. So I'll do the less serious stuff first, and that's just to remind you of the quiz, because we'd love a big entry today, because hopefully now your young ones are at home and they're not bored yet and you're all having a bit of fun and happiness together. Well, in celebration of the school holidays, we here at Highland Radio, in conjunction with our great friends at Eclipse Cinemas and Walt Disney Studios, are giving away 2 family passes each day to the movie premiere of Disney's Pixar's latest movie. It's Elemental. It's a cracker, okay? It's in Eclipse Cinemas on Wednesday the 5th of July at 3 p.m. So whoever wins, or whoever goes along to the premiere, will see it days before anyone else can see it. It's a full premiere thing. So we're inviting the children to have fun and come dressed up as your favourite Disney character, or ready for the red carpet. Maybe they've got a little tux. Who's to say? I don't know. We're going to have plenty of popcorn and treats in store for all to make your premiere experience all the more special. So for children that want to be with a chance of winning this amazing prize, all they need to do, in conjunction with their parents or guardians, is send us a WhatsApp video or voicemail to Highland Radio's WhatsApp number. That is 086 60 25,000, and tell us why your family should win a place. Winners will be announced at the end of each show. Disney Pixar's Elemental opens in cinemas on July 7th, but they'll get to see it on the 5th. Right, so send in your videos or voicemails. Tell us why you should win. And as I say, we're going to be flexible with the family passes thing to make sure that it's all they have with them, who they want with them. Do you get where I'm coming from? Right, okay. We can say good morning now to Superintendent Karen Duffy from the Ballyshannon District. Good morning to you, Karen.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for joining us. Okay, so what can you tell us as it relates to the ongoing Garda operation, multi-agency operation as it is, in the Slieve League / Killybegs area?
Well, in Garda Síochána are currently investigating an incident of an alleged assault that happened in the late hours of Saturday the 24th of June into the early hours of Sunday the 24th of June in the Killybegs and Slieve League area. 2 persons were arrested and they have since been released from Garda custody. Garda are continuing their investigations, and we're appealing for anybody that has dash cam or video footage on phones or CCTV footage in their house that may have seen anything acting suspiciously for those times in around the Killybegs, Duncanely, Kilcar or Slieve League area.
Now, of course, I would never, especially with an ongoing investigation, wish to put anyone on the spot, Karen. That's not my intention. But people, the listeners, might be a little bit confused as to the vagueness of the Garda appeal versus the extensive and quite detailed coverage in the media. I'm not asking you necessarily to talk to that, but can you give listeners an understanding so they can understand operationally the difference in what they're seeing and hearing and reading?
Well, I can't comment on that at the moment. It's an ongoing investigation. You know, we have a scene up at Slieve League that is currently closed off to the public, which would be standard in any investigation, and Garda are carrying out inquiries in relation to that incident.
And do you expect more details to be released anytime soon, or is it as the investigation unfolds?
It will certainly be as the investigation unfolds.
Okay, Karen, thank you very much for that. That's Superintendent Karen Duffy from the Ballyshannon District. 086 60 25,000 is our text number, but actually really what I meant to say there is to give the Garda number. I'm just so used to reading our number out. Anyone with information is asked to contact Ballyshannon Garda Station on 071985 8530 or that Garda confidential line 1800 666 111. Right, okay, I'm really pleased to welcome on to the programme now Amber Barrett. She, along with Ciara Grant, have been selected on the Ireland team for the World Cup finals in Australia. Amber, congratulations, because, you know, especially at elite sport level, nothing is guaranteed. So you must have been delighted to get the confirmation that you have your seat on that plane.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's definitely been, you know, a long time since the qualification in October. And I think the last few weeks, everybody's just been I suppose, very nervous around training and just anxious because, at the end of the day, there's only 23 that get officially selected, plus the 3 training players. And of course, to be one of those is an extremely proud moment for me and my family.
Is this the pinnacle of your career in your mind?
Yeah, I think, at this moment in time it is. But at the same time, I don't want it to be the only thing that we achieve. I think at the end of the summer, if we turn around and say that we had a really good World Cup, I think then that will topple it once again.
What is a good World Cup, Amber, for you? I mean, what are the expectations? Are you in the dressing room or at the team meeting saying, look, let's not rule anything out? Or do you set targets? How does it work in the world of football heading into a major tournament like this?
Yeah, I think most importantly is that you don't rule anything out. I think you can't limit yourself anyway. But at the same time, you're not saying, all right, well, we know we're definitely going to win it, like that's fixed. We're very realistic about our targets. I think probably the most important one is to get out of the group. Because I think if we get out of the group, then knockout football is a very different kettle of fish and anything can really happen there. And I think definitely looking at the group we have, to get out of the group would be a huge achievement. So I think right now everybody's just solely focused on that first game against Australia in Sydney in front of 80 plus thousand people, and making sure that they have a very difficult start to their tournament.
And it's a toughie, isn't it? Because it sounds like just the perfect dream. You're playing in the opening game against the hosts, 80,000 people there. God knows how many of them might be Irish. It may indeed feel like a home game to some extent. But you can't get caught up in that either, because you're in business mode. You're on the pitch. You're looking to win. So I suppose there's a psychology there. You have to get that balance right, don't you?
You do, and in the middle of all that, as much as knowing about your task and kind of not getting caught up, you also have to take it in and enjoy it, because like how often do we, especially as female footballers, get to stand in front of 80,000 people in a stadium playing the game that we all love? I think, we'll definitely not take anything for granted in that regard. But I think the biggest risk that all teams have going to the tournament is getting caught up in the excitement of everything, and, having that opportunity at the end of the game and the game passes you by. That's certainly something we don't want to happen. But, I think there's going to be pressure on everybody. I think probably on the first game a wee bit more pressure on the Aussies, because it is the opening game and they are the hosts, so everybody is, backing them to the hills, really. So
the pressure's on them, really, isn't it, to some extent, or to a great extent, actually?
It is, absolutely. And I think that's, we're very aware of that. But at the same time, there's pressure on us because, we have a game plan that we're good at and we need to stick to it. We need to make sure that we get the most out of it. And also there's pressure with us. We're playing against arguably the best female striker in the world in Sam Kerr. So, there's going to be pressure on both sides, but it's definitely something we're going to relish.
Talk to me a little bit about your form, because you got on the score sheet twice at the weekend, which was fantastic for you. You weren't scoring as freely for the club, but that obviously can depend too on how the team is set up and where you're playing. So for those who don't know, talk to me a little bit about your club form going into the most recent friendlies and then sort of on into this competition, Amber.
Yeah, well, I suppose the first thing is that, bar the goals on Thursday night, I hadn't scored since the qualification goal in October. And I think, everybody looked at that straight away and says, well, that's not very good form for a striker. But the problem was, for a lot of that, I wasn't playing as a striker, I was playing as a right back. And then after Christmas, I had a little issue with my shoulder, and then just getting back into the team didn't happen. I found that I was being left out. I think sometimes a little bit unfairly, but I was also in a team that wasn't creating any chances or creating very, very little. And I think even towards the end of the season, I was coming on in games that were already done and dusted in regards to us not winning it. So look, it's not to point blame at anybody. Of course, as a striker, you don't want to go that long to score, but you also need opportunities. And I think they were very far and few between. So I think after Thursday, that little bit of confidence comes back to you, and it's still such a lovely feeling to score for your country.
I would say one feeling I will never enjoy. And does that require then the Republic of Ireland manager requiring a bit of understanding of you and some of the situations that you talk of that maybe sort of, limited your opportunities to score? Vera needs to know you and what you're capable of when played in certain positions on a certain stage.
Yeah, and I think I had a very open and, honest relationship with Vera in that regard. Like, she always, would check in when I didn't play as much. He would be asking, what was going on. And I think from, listening to things I've said and other stuff that she's heard, I suppose she was very understanding of my situation. And it's football as well. Like, I think people automatically look and say, oh, she's not playing, she's not good enough, but you've no idea what happened during the week and what happened on training day to day, or maybe they picked up a knock, and all these little things, they all manifest into factors of not playing. But I think being able to have an open conversation with Vera really benefited me. And I think at the end of the day, Vera knows from, we've been working together now 4 years, that she knows that, she can rely on me for the big moments. And I plan on continuing to do that as long as I can.
This competition is big for individuals like yourself. It's big for the teams, but I think it's big for women's football as well, isn't it? Because there's been a great forward momentum, and I think this really could throw the game into the stratospheres over the summer.
Yeah, I think if you go back to the last World Cup, I think what came from that was unbelievable. Then you had the Women's Euros in England. I think what happened there, what it done to England, football in England, and just, I suppose the other countries took note of it and says, right, we need to really up our game. And I know from playing in Germany at the time that they really took it. They were like, they felt that their standards in women's football had stagnated a little bit, so they needed to now improve them in the way they wanted to. And I think going forward, that was the plan. I think, to be honest with you, Greg, I think I'm so excited for what's going to be post-tournament, what it's going to mean for the world of women's football. I think even since our qualification here, the amount of girls that have got involved in football, I think there's just so many players and girls willing to get involved now because they've seen something and they're like, I want to do that. I want to be part of that. And it's so great. And we have that responsibility as well. So I think not only do we owe it to ourselves to create a legacy at this tournament, we owe it to everybody else who wants something to do when they're older and to have that dream of playing professional football, because it is a brilliant dream to have.
Yeah, and it's amazing how it's just, 9, 10, 11-year-old girls that I would know, family and stuff, and they're kicking a ball around in the yard and they're pretending to be you. They want to be you. If you can see it, you can be it. You know what I mean? That's a beautiful bonus for your career and what you're doing for yourself, to be so important to these young people that they can relate to you. You know what I mean? It's a great thing, I think.
Yeah, and we were at an event last night in the Mansion House, and they talked about a few years ago how when they asked a group of young girls, who their idol was, they all said Sonia O'Sullivan, because she was the only one they could actually think of, and she was the only one they could actually say that that's the one that they know. Whereas a similar, question was asked recently, and Katie Taylor, Kelly Harrington, players of the Irish hockey team, Irish football, women's, Gaelic footballers were all listed in this. And it just shows you that, when they see the achievement, they see the success, they want to get on board with it. And, I think at the end of the day, the young fans are the ones we need to clue into, because they're the ones in 10 years who are, we're going to be paying tickets to go and see them play. So I think that's a really important thing to have as well.
Yeah, but too, as a Donegal people, I mean, you not heard Mark English on recently in athletics. We were chatting on this show to Jason Quigley on the world stage in boxing, a global stage a couple of days ago, and now we're talking to you and Ciara as well. Taking to the world stage for our tiny little corner of the tiny little island that we live on. Like, it's amazing what we're doing here in Donegal, I think.
It is, but Greg, I think one thing about the Donegal people is that we never in our lives have had anything handed to us, and we fight for everything we get. And I think that's the mantra that I know myself and Ciara definitely take with us, that we don't expect anybody to give us, hand us anything. And I think having that attitude is just something that the Donegal people are just that wee bit more hardened than a lot of the ones down the country. Like, if only the Dubs had our mentality now, they'd be flying. But it's just the way it is. And as you said, you look at the size of Donegal, and I suppose you look at the facilities in Donegal, they've really improved over the last years, but for a long time they weren't there, but yet they were still producing people who were going to represent Ireland at the biggest stages in the world. And I think that sums Irish people and Donegal people up very, very well.
Yeah, what happens for you now? Like, can we wrap you up in bubble wrap and cotton wool and stuff? Or, do you walk around on eggshells for the next couple of weeks?
Well, no, not really. We're back on training today. We had a wee bit of a down day yesterday, and training today, training tomorrow, and then next week we're obviously planning for the France game. But like Friday next week, Saturday next week, we fly out to Australia. So like the turnaround has been absolutely, it's been lightning, to be honest with you. And even coming into camp 2 weeks ago, we were still like, oh Jesus, it's still 3 weeks until we fly, but it's Sunday now, it's a week away. So it's, look, you just have to embrace it and enjoy it, and this is exactly where everybody wants to be.
All right, I'll leave you with a couple of messages that you won't get on Off the Ball or on RTE. All right, you'll only get it on your own local station. All the best from the Butler sisters, Margaret and Celine in Guidor. It was a great privilege to meet you at the cousin's wedding. Now, you're not going to get that on the Off the Ball, right?
No, definitely not.
And well done to all from all in Milford. The flags will be flying for you. There's going to be a great buzz. It's not just Milford and the surrounds, of course. It's going to be right across the county and country. It's really exciting thing to look forward to. Thanks for your time. I know you're busy and you're down with the team and what have you. It's been lovely having you on. All right, take care of yourself. That is Amber Barrett. She, along with Ciara Grant, selected on the Ireland team for the World Cup finals in Australia. She's one of a 23-strong squad for next month's competition. It's our first appearance at the World Cup too. As you heard from Amber, and it's a mantra, isn't it? You hope to get out of the group first in the first instance. But who is to say if they do and get to knockout football stages? Could be really exciting. It's going to be exciting anyway.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with the Lennon Festival Remelton from the 6th to the 10th of July, bringing you the super talented Sharon Shannon on Friday the 7th. See Lennon Festival Remelton on Facebook for ticket information.
An bhfuil méidir cliste agat agus gan is agad conas tús a chur lenne úsáid? Chlóri le high price plan méidir cliste Electric Ireland Home Electric Plus. Agus féach ar an méid foioine bheith úsáidan tú gach mí, gach lá, nó fiú gach uirich lig. Is tús cílver chun dúsáid foioine bheith laidú agus chun an tarva is mó a bhaint as the véidir cliste. Le chlóru, cuairdaí Electric Ireland Home Electric Plus. Tá méidir cliste agus contas ar lína riachtanach. Caithí ceara bhí imacht thart sulla mai teachtar na feimine seo. Tá termíos canílacha I bhaim. Féach ar electricireland.ie.
The new Corolla Hybrid Electric range is here, and the Corolla Cross SUV is the latest addition to the iconic family. Spacious and beautifully designed, it's perfect for growing families everywhere. And it's available to order now at Kelly's Toyota Letterkenny and Mount Charles. With exceptional electric drive time and no plugging in, the next generation is ready to take over. See the new Corolla Cross today at Kelly's Toyota Letterkenny and Mount Charles. Toyota, built for a better world. Terms and conditions apply.
The enhancement to the legislation for the management of business waste means all waste collectors must now provide 3 bins to their business customers for the separation of recycling, organic and general waste, and place all customers on an incentivised price plan. Your waste collector will provide further guidance on these important changes. A message from My Waste, brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
F&F is your one-stop shop for summer, and there's 25% off all clothing until Sunday, 2nd of July with your Tesco Club card or app. That's 25% off all your summer essentials. Now that's worth popping in for. F&F, fashion at Tesco. Products subject to availability. Available in the majority of larger stores.
Now, we had a chat on the programme with Des yesterday, and Des believes that he has ME. But it hasn't been diagnosed. I'll tell you what, it was one of those interviews that you're sitting in the evening and you're thinking on it, and that's exactly how it was for me. He is, for the most part, on his own. He's difficulty going out shopping, and even something you might take for granted, like walking to the bathroom and back, can take an awful lot out of him, or making food for himself. And he believes that he should be in care. He's gone to the ED. They've done all the checks. They've said, look, we can't find anything wrong with you, and sent him home. He presented to the mental health services. He was there for a week. They says, look, there's nothing we can do for you. He was sent home, and he does feel somewhat, if not very helpless. Now, we had lots of advice that come in that's been passed on to Des. So hopefully it's at a low ebb, but it's an upward curve from here on. Louise didn't actually hear the interview as such, but was told that we had Des on talking about ME and has family experience off that, and is going to have a chat with us. Louise, thanks for your time today.
Hi, Greg.
Right, it's a family member of yours that has ME.
Yeah, my daughter, she's 18.
Okay, and when was she first diagnosed with ME, Louise?
She was diagnosed, she first got ill in June 4 years ago, 2019, and it took 15 months for a diagnosis.
And were there lots of, well, we can't find anything wrong, bloods are coming clear, it could be psychological, that type of stuff?
Yeah. When we went down, her symptoms were very, very physical. It was severe headaches was the main concern, memory loss. She just had no energy, and it was during the summer, and I had gone, all the blood tests come back clear. They told me it was probably hormones. So over the summer months, I put her on, supplements and, pushed her to get outside for more fresh air and more sleep, things like that. Just your normal things whenever everything looks okay. And then in the September, literally the first day she went back to school, and she came home crying, severe headaches. I thought it was just, I didn't really know what it was. I was working that evening. She is highly intelligent, always has been, top grades in all her all school. So she was going into junior cert year, and I left her doing her homework, which normally took her, an hour and a half. And this was the first day back at school. And when I came home from work that night at 9 o'clock, she was still sitting, struggling with her homework and crying in pain. So alarm bells went off, but initially I actually thought the school was giving too much work for the junior cert. Just the normal things that go through your head. So I spoke to the school and asked, did they load on the homework on the first day or what? And they actually had very little homework. So I started keeping track of the length of time my daughter was doing her homework, and I was into the school talking to them, and then we realised it actually wasn't the work that was given. I went back to the GP. All her bloods were done again. Everything came back normal. But there was, he did find something in her heart. So he found a little murmur. So I was concerned that she had a hole in her heart. So spoke to the school. Everything stalled back. We eased off on her homework. She felt bad. She came home from school, and the symptoms didn't ease. We were trying to keep things as normal as possible. So all her results came back clear. When we did get her to the hospital, it came back that her heart was actually fine. It wasn't anything to be concerned of, but we did start keeping track of her heart rate and her blood pressure, and they were extreme. So she basically went from sitting down to standing up, and her blood pressure would just drop dramatically. She was collapsing. She was losing her vision. When her blood pressure went high, she got really sick. With it, nausea, and throwing up sometimes. So, but everything was ruled out that she had a hole in her heart, or that nothing physical was showing up at any test to do with her heart. So it went on. Now, I will say, she was in paediatrics in Letterkenny Hospital, and we got Dr. Power, who was amazing. He had some experience with ME. Her secretary, whenever she worked in England, had it for 4 years as a teenager, and it went away. Now, that was really... So she knew the symptoms, but that was really as much as she knew about it. So she said to me initially that she thought it was... Well, the word she used was in her head, which wasn't the best thing to say, but I knew what she meant. I knew stress, psychological is the route that she was going down. So... I just said, I don't care what it is. Can we get her tested? Can we check this out? So while she was in hospital, a doctor from CAMS, the Children's Mental Health, came up to the hospital, did an hour assessment on her. I was with her. And at the end of it, she said there was no mental health issues. There was no distress. There was no depression. There was no anxiety. There was nothing. She said it's definitely something physical. Now, she suggested it was a rare form of epilepsy that she had. So then, this over and back, this was going on a long period of time then, that we were in Crumlin. we were she was in Letterkenny just a lot, and an hour all the time. So we were sent to Crumlin. She had an EEG with the 24-hour wires and that connected to her, and it came back no epilepsy. So they couldn't understand what was going on. Dr. Power, again, she wanted another psychological assessment done. I think she didn't trust the results. So I said, fine, whatever they suggested, I went for. She was my daughter, she was 14, and this just was horrendous what she was going through. So there was another psychological assessment done. Again, everything came back that it was clear. Dr. Power wasn't happy. Now, we didn't know at this stage that Dr. Power did think it was ME, even though she didn't mention it to me. But her, as with the majority of all doctors, consultants, healthcare workers, it is that ME is psychological. So that was her belief. So she could not understand how all these symptoms were showing to her belief that it was ME, but how she was passing all the psychological assessments. At the end of, she insisted that Dr. Anne-Marie Robertson, who is the head, or was anyway then, of CAMS in Donegal, she insisted that she actually did the report. There was a 3-hour assessment between myself and Dr. Roberts and my doctor, or Dr. Robertson and my daughter. And after 3 hours, she said she has absolutely no psychological issues.
Right, okay,
there's no depression, there's no anxiety.
So obviously everyone, including Dr. Power, wanted that ruled out. So can we sort of fast forward then as to what happened next? How do you get a diagnosis then for ME, Louise?
So I had, people had suggested lots of different things. Nobody had suggested ME. But after a long time in researching, somebody had said about chronic fatigue. So when I Googled that, I saw ME. I went on Facebook and went on looking for groups. And I came across a group in Northern Ireland called, Fibro and ME. It's in Uri. And I contacted them. I went on to the group, and the symptoms that I was hearing about, my daughter had.
Yeah.
So they were having Dr. William Weir, who is an infectious disease consultant in Harley Street in London, but he does specialise in ME and fibromyalgia. So we got an appointment. He came over from Belfast. It was 15 months after my daughter started getting sick, and we got an appointment and we went up to see him, and it was him that diagnosed her.
And is there any, in terms of that, just for clarity, presumably he looked through her records on the basis of it being nothing else, and as she described, is that how he made the diagnosis? Like, it wasn't necessarily a test as such, but he was able to eliminate everything else and recognised the symptoms as ME. Is that how he came to his diagnosis?
Basically, he did do a few tests on her as well.
And we only have about 3 or 4 minutes, unfortunately, Louise. So then what happened after that, if you don't mind saying?
Yeah, so we went back to Dr. Power. So everything that, so as she was a child, there was no real medication that she could go on. So he had suggested taking 4 Dyrolite sachets a day to help regulate her blood pressure. So that was one of the symptoms. So with ME now, since last October, in the NICE guidelines, which is the medical guidelines, the graded exercise therapy and CBT has been removed from it. But before that is what was being recommended. Now, that is all fine for normal chronic fatigue. So people can get from it. Chronic fatigue is a symptom of a lot of different diseases, like heart issues, lung issues, even cancer treatment. Chronic fatigue is a symptom. So the ME associations are actually trying to get chronic fatigue syndrome removed, de-associated with ME. They're trying to get it back to fully being recognised in its own name as myalgia and encephalomyelitis.
So then, what changed then, just in the last couple of minutes, Louise, what changed then when your daughter turned 18?
So when she was 18, we attended a consultant in the Hermitage, Dr. Rizwan Udin, who is a consultant in internal medicine, which basically is invisible diseases. So because of everybody that we had gone to over the last few years, we were just looked at as if we were crazy. I didn't understand what gaslighting was until my daughter had this. And it was so upsetting, so frustrating. Like Des yesterday, I did actually last night listen to his interview, and just like him, people end up with mental health issues because they are not being listened to and there is no help. It is not the other way around.
Yeah.
And doctors see it as the other way around. So we actually had a fantastic OT, a pediatric OT to start with, who explained to me about using your energy. So for the last 4 years, I was doing I was guiding her. I removed myself from work and literally just stayed at home with her. And I restricted everything that she was doing, but she wasn't able to do anything anyway. So she was happy with me giving her food and washing her hair and, all those things. She did go through 2 years that she was barely able to get out of bed. It was just absolutely horrific. But bit by bit, I think by controlling everything that she was doing, she did start to do things the last maybe year and a half, a little bit more. She hasn't had school. All her friends have done their leaving cert last year and this year. And she's been out of school for nearly 2 years. She's not able to do anything like that at all. So in February, she turned 18 and we got an appointment in the Hermitage with this consultant. And for the first time ever, it was just such a relief and such a blessing that he just talked to us as if we were normal. Normally it was, you're crazy, this isn't happening. And he started her on some medication. So he told us that he had a plan A, plan B, and plan C. And it would take time, and we would work together, and he said that he could have her back to normal in 2 years. And
how is she getting on now?
Some medication. She's doing fantastic. She is meeting up with her friends 2-3 times a week. Now, I am driving her to her friends, so basically I'm saving her energy for the things that she wants to do.
Do you see a pathway her to back to full fitness? Or you do see that? Is hope there?
Yeah, well, I'm constantly hoping
eternally hopeful, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so from where she was, even this time 6 months ago, is completely different to now. Even in the last year and a half, it just was crazy. She couldn't even spend 20 minutes in school after Christmas last year, whereas now she's meeting up with her friends a couple of times a week. So there's a big difference.
Okay, that's brilliant. Okay, so there is hope. Listen, thank you so much for that, Louise. I really appreciate your time today, and best wishes to your daughter. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, we'll be back with more after the news and obituary notices.
The 9 till noon show with the Lennon Festival Ramelton from the 6th to the 10th of July. Experience the incredible ABBA sensations on Saturday the 8th. For ticket information, see Lennon Festival Ramelton on Facebook.
232. 3 simple numbers, but for Audi they signify more. More innovation and excitement. An invitation to experience progress you can feel. And a shift in mindset to greater expectations. Like the competition edition on the Audi A4 and A5 S-Line models. All part of our 232 range. Discover how progress makes you feel in a 232 Audi. And book a test drive today.
With July around the corner, it's time to get your 232 ordered. With low finance rates, it's time to find out why Nissan is dominating the Irish market. With petrol, e-power hybrid and electric models. Call into iMotors today. We're sure to have a Nissan model for you.
Charlie McClafferty Funeral Directors, serving Letterkenny and the surrounding areas for over 100 years. Charlie McClafferty Funeral Directors. Let our family take care of your family and guide you through a difficult time.
Inishowen Co-op, a one-stop shop for all your home, garden, DIY and agri needs. Premier brands, expert knowledge and great value. Whether you're building your home, painting a room or searching for a new washing machine, Inishowen Co-op have what you need and so much more. Visit us in-store and now online at inishowencoop.com.
Jake's famous All-American Burgers has crossed the Atlantic and is now in Kelly's American Roadside Diner. Always tasty, always fresh, and so damn satisfying. Call in now for a taste of Southern hospitality at Kelly's American Roadside Diner.
The 9 till noon show with the Lennon Festival Ramelton from the 6th to the 10th of July, featuring the talented Jimmy Buckley live on Sunday the 9th. Tickets are just €10 and pay at the gate.
We love summer at Dunnes Stores with 20% off bottles of wine and champagne like Whispering Angel, 19 Crimes and Villa Maria Sauvignon Blanc. Share a 4-pack of indulgent Ferrero Rocher or Raffaello ice creams, only €5. Plus, with our 5 off 25 grocery vouchers, you save even more. Dunnes Stores, always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more. Voucher excludes alcohol. Please drink sensibly.
At Hickey, Clark and Langan Insurance Brokers, they compare quotes from all the leading insurers, so you get a great price. Home, motor and van, farm, holiday home, travel and liability insurance, they quote them all. So if the worst happens, you're covered. For a competitive insurance quote today, call Hickey, Clark and Langan on 9126688 or pop into their office at Ballymacool, Letterkenny. Hickey, Clark and Langan General Insurances Limited, trading as Hickey, Clark and Langan, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Did you know Cool Kids Sligo have the biggest range of baby equipment in the Northwest with 25 years of baby expertise? Cool Kids Sligo take deposits on your baby bundle. Visit us in-store at Cool Kids Sligo or shop online at babyaccessories.ie for free nationwide delivery. Make Cool Kids Sligo your #1 destination for all things baby.
Join us this Friday on Around the Northwest with me, John Breslin, from 12 to 2:30. We'll be coming to you live from the Wild Atlantic Camp in Creeslaw, celebrating the launch of their brand new 2-story luxury chalets, ready for you to enjoy the ultimate in luxury family glamping this summer.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. It's understood Garda and Donegal are trying to track down the family of a man who has been missing since the weekend in connection with an alleged assault in the Slieve League, Killybegs area. It's believed the man in his 60s is from Northern Ireland and may have been the victim of a serious assault. Searches have been ongoing in the area since Monday. A man and woman were arrested earlier this week but were released without charge. Superintendent Karen Duffy from the Ballyshannon district is appealing for information.
In Garda Síochána are currently investigating an incident of an alleged assault in the late hours of Saturday the 24th of June into the early hours of Sunday the 24th of June in the Killybegs and Slieve League area. We're appealing for anybody that has dash cam or video footage on phones or CCTV footage in their house that may have seen anything acting suspiciously for those times in around the Killybegs, Duncanely, Kilcar or Slieve League area.
A Donegal deputy has accused hotels of price gouging by charging high prices on the dates of Taylor Swift's gigs in Dublin next year. Deputy Thomas Pringle has told the Dáil that you cannot secure a hotel room for less than €350 on the weekend of the concerts next June. He claims people are being denied access to live events due to the high costs.
How is this accessible for my constituents in Donegal, Taoiseach, who are undoubtedly the most affected by this disgraceful display of greed because of their distance from the capital? I'm highlighting the Taylor Swift concerts in particular because we know that she has a lot of young fans who cannot travel independently and who will require adult supervision. It is yet again another example of the immense greed and selfishness that has taken hold in this country. This is an accessibility issue, Taoiseach, and yet again affects my constituents more than others. So what are you and the government going to do about it?
Well, in responding to Deputy Pringle, the Taoiseach says capitalising on big events is bad business.
I've made the point very strongly back to them. It's like price gouging and taking advantage of people and hiking prices on very popular weekends is bad business. It's how your business gets a bad reputation. It's how your city or town gets a bad reputation. And it's how your wider industry gets a bad reputation.
It's the turn of the Public Accounts Committee to grill RTE board members and executives later. They will face further questions over the Ryan Tubridy pay saga after criticism over yesterday's committee appearance. Bosses face questions from the Media Committee, with the Minister Catherine Martin saying afterwards that she expects more transparency today. Chair of the PAC, Brian Stanley, says he would like clarity as to why Ryan Tubridy's published salary was misrepresented.
The reasons we've heard so far is that we had to pay him because he may walk. But for God's sake, if you're getting 495,000 of an income, you're going to walk. The first question I would ask if it was on the RTE board is, walk where?
A Donegal deputy is urging people intending to travel in the near future to check their passports immediately. Deputy Pierce Doherty says his office has seen a large increase in the number of people finding that their passports are out of date or that applications are taking longer than expected. He says he and colleagues have been raising concerns with the Passport Office, particularly in relation to cases where applications were made in good time but not processed quickly enough.
In some cases, this is nothing to do with the fact that passports are out of date or people haven't checked them. Some of the cases here are that people have applied in time, but because maybe that when the Passport Office phoned the Garda for verification of the picture, they find that the Garda is a part-time Garda station and is closed, and therefore you go back to the start of the queue and you have to wait another 4 weeks and so on.
Drivers are likely to face a second hike in toll rates in 6 months. Tolls on some of the country's main roads, including the M50 and M1, are going up on Saturday. Transport Infrastructure Ireland says it's highly likely the rates will rise again next January because of inflation. CEO Peter Walsh is denying the toll companies are punishing drivers.
And as you rightly refer, costs are going up. They're going up for everybody. There's 250 people employed in those various toll operations. So costs are rising for them as well.
With a nice sunny spells and scattered showers today and a moderate westerly wind. Highest temperatures of 16 to 18 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, good morning. The obituary notices for this Thursday morning, June the 29th. The death has occurred of Nellie Harley, Lochanuir, Johnny William, formerly of Tully. Her remains will be reposing in McGlynn's funeral home this afternoon from 2 o'clock until 6 o'clock, followed by removal to her own home in Lochanuir. Rosary tonight at 8 o'clock and tomorrow evening at 9 o'clock. Funeral Mass on Saturday morning in the Star of the Sea Church, Annagry at 10 o'clock, followed by interment in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Mary Barr, née McQuaid, Lekemy, Moville. Mary's remains are reposing at her home. Funeral Mass will take place on Saturday morning at 11 o'clock in St Columba's Church, Ballinacray, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Family flowers only, donations if desired to the Carndonagh Community Hospital Patients Comfort Fund, care of Liam Collins, Funeral Director. The death has occurred of Jim McLaughlin, the General, Cockhill Road, Buncrana, County Donegal. Jim's remains will be reposing at his home today from 6 o'clock until 10 o'clock and tomorrow from 12 noon until 10 o'clock. Funeral on Saturday morning, leaving at 9:45, going to St Mary's Church, Cockhill, with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Funeral can be viewed on churchservices.tv. The death has taken place of Margaret Edmondson, née Porter, Drumboy, Lifford, reposing at her daughter Blanid Porter's home, the Haw, Churchtown, Carrigans, this afternoon from 4 o'clock. Funeral leaving her daughter's home on Saturday morning at 10:15 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Murlock, Lifford at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Wake private to family and friends only, please. Family time, please, from 10 o'clock until 11 o'clock. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. The death has occurred of Madeleine Boyd, née Dunleavy, Kilcashel, Lochross Point, Ardra. Remains reposing at her late residence at Kilcashel, Lochross Point. Funeral service at her late residence tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock, followed by burial in Kilcashel Cemetery. And the death has taken place of Roger Rory Connolly, 4 Clunley, Connyborough Road, Lifford, and formerly of Kinloch, County Leitrim. reposing at his home. Funeral leaving his home this morning at 10:25 for Requiem Mass in St Patrick's Church, Murlough, Clifford at 11 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. Donations in lieu of flowers placed to the Donegal Hospice, care of Quigley Funeral Directors. The Requiem Mass can be viewed live via the parish webcam. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
Great news. That was our agent on the phone.
And?
We're booked for a tour of the Arctic Circle.
Jim, we're comedians, not penguins.
Actually, they're in the Antarctic.
And what about the lotto? What if our favourite numbers come up when we're off telling knock-knock jokes to polar bears?
That's actually funny.
You're funny.
Now you can schedule your favourite Lotto and EuroMillions numbers up to 12 months in advance and pay as you play. Download the National Lottery app to schedule your play. The National Lottery. It could be you. Play responsibly. Play for fun.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
Okay, thanks to Louise for joining us before the news at 10 o'clock. Others texting in, following on from our conversation with both Louise and Des. Good morning, Greg. I've been listening to Des talking about ME, and it was like talking about myself. I was diagnosed with ME chronic fatigue and was running around in circles for years with declining health. I was diagnosed with Lyme disease in 2019 and I'm now on the road to recovery. If you want to give that guy my number, I'd be more than happy to talk to him. Thanks. Hi, Gregory ME. This man needs to be referred to a specialist immediately. Another, Greg, tell Des there is hope. I'm living proof of that. I've been down that same road for almost 10 years. The HSE will never be able to help Des. I went private to a doctor in Galway as a last resort. I borrowed the money to see this specialist doctor. Does Des live in Letterkenny? Because I can help with much information about myalgia and it's ME. I don't want to, it's NC Filamentitis, isn't it? I had an article about my case in the Democrat in 2011. I was as bad as Des and even worse. And you know about my road safety campaign for 15 years, up until COVID stopped me. Tell Des to not lose hope. He can get well again. Hi, Greg. Des, with the fatigue problems, would benefit greatly by going to see a good accredited psychotherapist. What the mind cannot hold shows up in the body, and if you work through some of the emotional baggage by going once a week to a psychotherapist, it would be of great support. That comes in from Tom in Dublin. Thank you very much for all of your comments in relation to that. Very good, very proud of Amber, not only a great player but such a lovely speaker as well. Great ambassador for our young people, doing herself, Donegal and Ireland proud. Good luck everyone in the Irish team and management. Yes indeed, as she speaks she's very impressive. There's just no doubt about that. The EU pushing ahead with a digital currency as part of the World Economic Forum plan that's been progressing for years. Shaping the future of the fourth industrial revolution and COVID-19, the Great Reset, and so on and so forth. The concerning part is that the electronic currency will be programmable. This has been objected to by the Bank of England, as it also allows governments to control what the user is allowed to spend the currency on. So, for example, this is what they believe could be worst case scenario. If the EU decides that people can only buy €50 of diesel, then once you reach that limit, your card or device will not allow you to buy more. This move away from cash is about control, not convenience, of cost effectiveness. Best of luck in Australia, Amber, from the Dunfanaghy Youth Girls Soccer. I'm sorry I'm mixing these up a little bit. And I've just got a couple on the RTE scandal. The government must be loving the RTE pay scandal, dominating all the news headlines. Should be focusing on bigger issues. Defective blocks, housing, health, refugees living on the streets of Ireland. This is just a distraction. Well, it's more than just a distraction because it goes to the root of government, public funded bodies. And as I said on the show yesterday, all of these things are intertwined. This is about public funded service. This time it's media, public funded service housing, public funding service HSE. it's all kind of the same. And unless we start getting accountability in any of these areas, all the problems will continue to persist. I agree with what you're saying. We're covering it, we're talking about it, but we're talking about everything else as well. I watched the Oireachtas inquiry yesterday, says the listener, and was wondering why it was being chaired by Reese Witherspoon, who was in Legally Bond. On a serious note, I think the future of the Late Late Show is in jeopardy right now. Sponsors will be slow to jump on board RTE's Titanic. I don't think it is even that. It's just, I thought that was a toxic chair to begin with, and just with everything that's going on, it seems Stephen's even more so. Right, okay. There's a competition running at the moment that I want to give a mention to. Let me see. Yeah, here it is. It's competition time on our social medias. We're giving away we're giving one lucky winner the chance to win an amazing prize with Wild Atlantic Camp in Creasler. To celebrate the launch of the new 2-story luxury chalet, we've teamed up with our friends at the Wild Atlantic Camp to give one lucky winner a €500 voucher to spend at the camp. If you have, all you have to do is head over to Highland Radio's Instagram, that's Highland Radio Donegal, and follow the instructions there, and you could be the lucky winner of a €500 voucher for the Wild Atlantic Camp in Creasler. The winner will be announced on Friday the 13th of June on Around the Northwest with John Bresson live from the Wild Atlantic Camp in Creasler. Ooh, excellent. Fair play to John. I wonder, will he get a free stay? Why don't I get free anything? Am I not an influencer? I'll go and I'll post all about it on social media. I'm joking. But get on to social media. They've got their new 2-story luxury chalets there. It's at the Wild Atlantic Camp in Creasler. Get on to our social media for your chance to win. It's kind of exclusive to that space. A caller says, I believe ME is as a result of repetitive stress on the body. He needs to reprogram his health with a focus on his mental health fatigue. But listen, I think a lot of people try and attribute it to mental health. I don't think it's your mental health and then you get ME. I think what happens is people get ME. They get very frustrated, obviously, because it's life-altering, and then they end up with obvious mental health issues in some cases because of frustration and what have you. Hi, Greg. We were listening to Des. My husband had Lyme disease, which was not picked up in the hospital. He spent over 10 weeks in hospital between Letterkenny and Sligo. If Des would like to give my husband a ring to discuss symptoms, we can pass on the number. There is only one consultant in Ireland treating Lyme disease, and Irish blood tests are only 30% accurate. So good chance it didn't show up in bloods. Des has all the symptoms my husband has, and I presume you're talking about Dr. Lambert, who's been a regular guest on this show, as has the issue of Lyme disease. That's coming in from Michelle and Peter. We will pass on those details, Michelle. As I said on the show yesterday, before these types of messages start coming through, I'd love if Des would also get that checked as well, because it also did sound very similar to symptoms that are associated with that disease also. But either way, need to get to the bottom of it, of course, for Des's quality of life. Right, it is bingo jackpot day. There's a huge amount of money. Is it in play? We don't know. Hopefully, if one of you win, we'll know. But anyway, get your books out, get your pens out. Here are the bingo numbers.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 29th of June, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €18,400 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S9. It's game number 26. The jackpot number is 25. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 45, 72, 67, 62, 23, 25, 85, 22, 10, and finally 77. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Beef farmers losing €300 per head. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Our analysis reveals how much low factory prices are costing finishers. Farmers reject cow cull proposal as Minister lays blame at farm organisations' door. Will new peatland research be a game changer for re-wetting farms? The latest on dropping fertiliser and feed prices. Anger over strict rules for women in TAMS. Plus how to secure finance to build a farm shed.
And don't miss your free machinery magazine inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal. On sale now.
Boyle
Foilside, at the centre of more for your euro, with great value gifts. So it's worth making the journey wherever you live. With convenient parking, late nights, and all your favourite brands, you're better off shopping at Foilside. See foilside.co.uk.
Crawford Tiles and More, Castlefin. Summer offers now on. 10% off everything for the month of June. Wall and floor tiles, all sizes from small to extra large. Brand new selection of wood flooring in stock. Over 60 bathrooms on display. Tile and bathware clearance available outside. Late night opening on Thursday till 8. Closed Saturdays. Crawford Tiles and More, Castlefin.
The groom goes free. The groom goes free. Yes, you heard it. The Groom's Room. Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park. The groom goes free. Call in today. Terms and conditions apply.
The 9 till noon show with the Lennon Festival Ramelton from the 6th to the 10th of July. Save the date and gather your friends for an incredible lineup featuring Sharon Shannon, ABBA Sensations and Jimmy Buckley.
All right, so before 10 in the first hour, we had a good chat with Amber Barrett, who is representing, or is named on the Irish squad, taking part in the the World Cup in Australia. Starts next month. We're all very excited. And I was saying during that piece how we are punching above our weight here in Donegal with our excellent sports people. And I mentioned Amber, of course, and I mentioned Jason Quigley, and I can throw Vicky Gill's name in there now. Vicky from Kilmacrennan is in studio with us, and I can say, without fear of contradiction, congratulations, Vicky, because you have around your neck the gold medal you won at the Special Olympics in basketball in Berlin. You're only just home. We said we'd get you back on.
Yeah.
I said it. I think I said at least a silver, and would get you. No, I didn't. Come here. How was the experience? Congratulations. What was it like?
Thank you. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All that training, all the diet, all the exercise, all paid off in the end.
Yeah.
What was the experience like?
Experience was getting there and being on the team, and then meeting new people and meeting different ones. It was amazing.
How big was it? How many people were there? Was it like, not numbers literally, but was it like loads and loads and loads?
7,000 was it? There?
Wow, okay.
7,000 athletes.
Wow, amazing. How many games did you have to play to win gold?
We had 7 to play.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
We won 2 matches and we lost 3.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
And Dad, were you able to go? Sorry, I've forgotten the first name.
I was able to go, yeah. Carol and myself went over for 4 days. We stayed just... the games were taking part in the Message Centre, which covers roughly 40 acres.
Wow,
So
that's what I was trying to get a sense of the scale. This is
complex.
huge, isn't it? Yeah.
But Vicky and them got to the opening ceremony, which was held in the old Olympic Stadium in Berlin.
What was that like, Vicky?
Fantastic, brilliant. It was amazing, good crowd, and everybody cheered us on, and the fireworks was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all part of the experience as much as anything, isn't it? It was better than you thought it was going to be. All right, okay. And did you have to go around with the flag and all that kind of stuff as well, or what way does that work over there? Do you know in the opening ceremony, are you brought out in front of the crowd, or?
We didn't have to do the flag, but somebody else done the flag, but we had to walk out in front of
Everyone, and walk around. That's
Yeah.
what I was thinking. Yeah, okay, brilliant. And what was it like in the games? Were you nervous? Were you able to enjoy it, or?
No, I wasn't nervous. I just got on and kept myself calm and done everything what the coaches told us to do, and that was it.
And you'll not forget this in a rush.
No.
Okay, brilliant stuff. What an experience.
Yeah.
And the whole family, the whole of... I think Kilmacrennan didn't know you were doing this until you were on. It was kept all hush-hush, and then it's like, what? Vicky's going to the Olympics. What's going on here? So it all happened and turned around really quite quickly, didn't it? All right, and family's all very, very proud, of course, as I say, as is Kilmacrennan in the county.
Yes, was very proud. Very, very proud. Me and Carol was very proud, of course. Vicky's worked hard for 12 years.
A lot of sacrifices.
A lot of sacrifices,
and
a lot of travel. She played for Ulster, got to national championships, and then getting picked for the World Cup to play in the World Games was something we never expected, or Vicky never expected it either, And when she got the call, we didn't get the call till late in January. That was one of the problems with COVID, as you know yourself. And when she got the call, then it was so exciting. And we were trying, the reason we never mentioned it or kept it kind of covered, she could have sustained injury. She was still playing league football or league
Basketball, yeah.
So we were worried, and so we just kept it a kind of hush until we spoke to you the first time. That was just a couple of weeks.
Hey, we're all about the exclusives here in the 9 till noon show. Don't worry about that. 73 were on the Team Ireland, team athletes. We collected 24 golds, 22 silvers, 29 bronze. A really great haul, Vicky. Yeah, okay, brilliant stuff. What was the best part for you?
My best part was being there and seeing all the sights and just competing.
Brilliant. So you got to see a bit of the area too while you were over there too.
Berlin walls and everything. And
brilliant. Fantastic stuff. The flight's okay?
Flight was grand, not a bother. Everything was... I was sleeping the whole way, so sorry.
Hey, thankfully someone else. I sleep on the plane all the time, and then all of a sudden I realised someone told me that I snore.
Yes.
So have I been snoring on the plane? I don't know. Hopefully in that sleeping position I don't. But anyway, and then you got back into the airport, and what was it like having the whole country behind you and cheering you on?
It was shocking, like when we seen everybody there, but it was nice to see all the family.
And are you still tired? You only got back yesterday. Quite a bit of travelling, lots of excitement, nervous energy and adrenaline and all that.
I'm still tired, yeah.
Right, okay. Yeah. And what's next? No, anything planned?
Nothing yet.
You can chill for a bit?
Yeah.
Going holidays now.
Going holidays, exactly.
What, can we talk about that? Where are you going?
She's actually going on... You're going... Tell them what you're going to do.
Going Mangan's tour.
Right.
Glasgow and Scotland. So.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, from Berlin to Donegal to Scotland, it's all go, go, go. Well, listen, Vicky, congratulations. The medal looks wonderful on you, and it's great to get you back in. And everyone, of course, is really, really proud of you and the rest of your teammates. 73 in total, and you did the business and had lots of fun in the process too, which is what it's all about. And we're all incredibly proud, not least your family and your fellow Kilmacrennans. And the rest of us as well. So, Vicky, listen, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
And we really appreciate you calling back in, and enjoy the celebrations. All right, okay.
Thanks, Greg.
Anything that neither of you want to add? You happy enough? Yeah?
No, I'd just like to say that while we were in Berlin, Vicky, myself and her mum, the people in Berlin, the service was amazing. Free trains, free buses, just for family and athletes. Everywhere you wanted to go, tube, train, overland, bus, rail, didn't matter. It was all free to families.
That's how you do it, isn't it?
It was fabulous, and the organisation within the Message Centre, as I said, which covers 40 acres, was absolutely fantastic. You had no problem, and the people were so good. If you asked a person a question, they would have went out of their way to show you where to go,
Yeah,
that was
exactly. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? Exactly. Because what means is the city embraced the games.
The city embraced the games, and the word inclusion, as they call it, Einheit, which was unity, as the German word for that, that really was involved.
We have a tendency here to use that word but not really follow through.
Exactly, but they really did.
Okay.
A simple story. We were lost, and we asked this guy in Sub 4 how to get from A to B. He came out of the Sub 4 shop. He took me and Carol up the street. He got us tickets for the bus. He got on the bus with us. He took us down to the tube station. He stood at the tube station and got on the tube with us because we had to transfer to another one, just to show us how to do it, and then went the whole way back to his work.
Wow.
Now, if that hasn't been, thoughtful and caring, what would you do?
What a wonderful
Thanks, Greg.
experience.
Thank you very much,
Listen,
Greg.
well done. Congratulations to you, Vicky, and all your teammates, and all of the contingency from Ireland that went. A brilliant result. 24 goals, 22 silvers, 29 bronze. Thanks so much for calling up, and enjoy your holiday.
Thank you.
All right, take care. Back shortly.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook, and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with the Lennon Festival Remelton from the 6th to the 10th of July, bringing you the super talented Sharon Shannon on Friday the 7th. See Lennon Festival Remelton on Facebook for ticket information.
Looking for a good night's sleep? Restex Beds has you covered. Located at Mountaintop Letterkenny, they are the best in the Northwest to get a quality bed or mattress. Come visit them today and wake up feeling rested and refreshed. Restex Beds, Mountaintop Letterkenny.
At On Post, we believe in giving you more power over how you bank. That's why AIB and Bank of Ireland customers can now lodge and withdraw money at any of our 900 post offices across Ireland 6 days a week. That's right, your bank is in your post office for personal and business banking alike, meaning you can bank wherever you live or work. Visit your local post office or onpost.com/everydaybanking. On Post, your money for your world. Allied Irish Banks plc and Bank of Ireland are regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Crawford Tiles and More, Castlefin. Summer offers now on. 10% off everything for the month of June. Wall and floor tiles, all sizes from small to extra large. Brand new selection of wood flooring in stock. Over 60 bathrooms on display. Tile and bathware clearance available outside. Late nights opening on Thursday till 8, closed Saturdays. Crawford Tiles and More, Castlefin.
Are you tired of hiding your smile? It's time to regain your confidence at Blue Poppy Orthodontics. We offer a range of solutions from Invisalign and regular braces to general dentistry, teeth whitening, implants and composite bonding. And now some exciting news. At Blue Poppy, your Invisalign clear brace is now available for the same price as conventional braces and includes an attractive repayment plan. Take the first step with Blue Poppy Orthodontics, Letterkenny and Donegal Town. Call 074 974 0404.
Now, a campaign to tackle the issue of gambling addiction on an all-island basis by a couple, Peter and Sadie Keogh, is what we're going to be talking about now. And I'm delighted to welcome on to the programme Peter and Sadie. Good morning to you. Hopefully you can hear me okay.
Good morning.
Morning, Greg.
Nice to have both of you on the show. How are you keeping?
Not too bad, thank you. We're kept fairly busy with our campaign north, south, east and west on this island.
Okay. Now, the reason you decided to launch this campaign is because of the tragic loss of your son, Sadie. Can you talk to us a little bit about that and the experience that led to...
Well, it's something we will never recover from. Our life has changed forever. Ourselves and our sons just were totally devastated. It was so sudden and unexpected. We had no idea the extent of his gambling. We knew he gambled a little bit on football or whatever, but we didn't realise the extent of the damage it was doing to him. And of course, we had no idea that gambling can kill. We know that now because we belong to a group of parents and wives and husbands who have lost people from gambling, suicide, and so we're very, very well aware of the dangers of it. And that is why Gambling with Lives, that we're connected with, has started this education program to try and educate young people. Because from going back to find out where it all started, it started when he was at school, when he was waiting for a bus to the country, and he went into a local gambling arcade. So, I mean, it starts when they're very young, and I think it's a bit of fun, but I know that he would never have taken risks with anything, and he would not have been aware of the fact that he could end up where he ended up.
Yeah, and the thing that I've had concerns about, because we would talk about problem gambling on this programme reasonably regularly, is how early it does start now, because it's even now there are families listening to us and their children are playing games on Xbox or PlayStation or on their phone, and already the gambling is starting. You're opening boxes to see what's in them. You're opening card packs to see what's on there. It's this sort of, shall I open it now? Shall I open it in an hour? It's this sort of risk and reward, and it already is sort of feeding into that. And then you look at how social media works, if they're on Facebook, or it's the constant delivery of something by pulling down or scrolling up. It sort of creates this reward for these types of actions. Now, I can't say it's not being done by accident or on purpose, but very early on, Pete, people are being conditioned also, Sadie, whoever wants to come in on that, people are being conditioned to gambling. So you can then, at that bus stop with the right sign, very easily get them in through the doors.
Yes, it's a natural progression, Greg.
I believe it's intentional.
Yeah, okay, Sadie.
Yeah, as Sadie says, it's totally intentional. It's very clever marketing and very clever reeling in of young potential sources of a lot of money for the revenue of the gambling companies. And they're completely cynical in their approach. They don't see human beings; they see sources of money. And some of the richest people in the UK are the owners of Bet365, whose fortune runs into billions shared across 5 or 6 members of the family. That in itself just says how ill-balanced gambling is. The gambler never wins. He may have a short-term gain, but you can be sure that the gambling company will come out on top at the end.
Well, if you win with any consistently, you're banned. And I want to throw the lotto in there as well too, because I think that's not an awful lot of people talk about how many people spend much of their income on lotto tickets or on the lotto being sold a dream. And it's mainstream, it's okay, you know. But I also believe people with an addiction could find themselves very vulnerable to that as well. Pete, it's what you don't know as well too. You and Sadie both are learning an awful lot about what happened to your son after the fact. Is that the case?
Yeah, we didn't know anything about what he had been doing. He kept it totally hidden. It's actually very shame. I think he was ashamed of what he was doing, and there's a great stigma to gambling. And I've heard since of people who have been gambling and have taken their lives, and the family will say, "Oh, he was in debt. It was a debt." The debt is not the problem. The debt is not. It's the gambling, what it does to your head and to your brain, and you just get to the stage where you see there's no way out, and it really is not about the debt. And the interesting fact is we've been campaigning since Lewis died, and we decided to go public because we were so shocked. And when I tried to find out about gambling addiction, believe me, the gambling industry was there trying to hook me in. I was getting offers and emails every day offering me anything from £5-10 to one day £1,500 free, so-called free bets to hook me in. So they're there. I mean, if somebody's looking for help, they're there offering them free bets. If somebody leaves the gambling, they're offering them free bets to get them back in again. So the stigma attached to it, we've never had anyone in Northern Ireland or the Republic of Ireland who have contacted us and said, we have a problem with, we have lost a son, a mother, a father, a husband or whatever from gambling addiction. And all the times we've been campaigning, we get calls from recovering gamblers saying thank you so much for bringing this to the public awareness, because they're struggling to stay gamble free. But never, we have not had one other person on this island who has said, I've lost someone.
What does that? What stands out about that, Sadie? Is it the secrecy of it, the fact that people, not everyone wants to necessarily go into the public eye in issues like this. But that being said, contacting you would not necessarily be public. So you know it's happening. So why are people not talking about it, do you think, Sadie?
I think it's a stigma of it, simply. And especially, I don't know, maybe it's not as bad in the Republic of Ireland, but I know in Northern Ireland it's very, very closed. Everybody's very closed. They don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
And, that's just...
So how do we roll back from where we're at, though? Because the reality is that, and it's young people that are targeted from a very young age. Listen, that's why... That just so everybody is aware, the reason you've got extra cold beer is because beer tastes puke, especially to young people who've never tasted it. So you make it extra cold and it kills the taste, and you get them drinking their Guinness or the lager, and that's how it works. That's why there is extra cold. It's because young people will go, ugh, I'm not drinking that. So let's not make any bones about it that these companies purposely target young people to bring them in. And how do you do that? You sponsor GEA clubs, you sponsor soccer teams, it's in boxing. Everywhere you look, gambling is intertwined into everything. Before every football match, you can't have fun on a game unless you're betting on it. You can bet on a throw-in, you can bet on absolutely everything. So, and it's a really strong lobby, Sadie. So how do we roll back from that? Do you know what I mean? Is it about educating people? Is it trying to reduce the influence of bookmakers? Because let's not forget, there's people listening to this show that the only way you could gamble was in a little office somewhere. You couldn't see in through the windows. You'd slip in, have a gamble, you'd slip out. Now you can do it whenever you like, and it's mainstream. So what needs to happen, Pete or Sadie, do you think, in the gambling industry to save our young people, to save another Lewis, for an example?
Well, we're working, Gambling with Lives, we're working on three fronts. We're working on the island of Britain, and we've been to Westminster with other members of Gambling with Lives and successfully met with ministers there. We've campaigned in Stormont, and it was lovely to see the joint chairs of the committee on the APG on gambling reform were DUP and Sinn Féin. And it was also Unionist and Sinn Féin, yeah. And then they brought in a DUP guy who is acting as the finance manager of it all. And we've talked to Emer Curry in the Oireachtas, and she's brought in a group called Feroiga, who weren't that well known to me, but I'm sure they're well known to your listeners. A wonderful organisation that we're currently hoping to work with. They have 600 employed members across the island of Ireland, which was stunning to me. I just thought that many fully employed youth workers, and what we'd hope to do is find some sort of an arrangement whereby we can. Sorry, Greg, we haven't got to tell you that our most powerful weapon is an education film that an employee of ours, an education manager, takes around the schools in Northern Ireland.
Yeah, that started in 2021, didn't it? That's when.
It did indeed, yes. And because of my background in educational publishing, they said, well, look, we'll get an education manager, we'll do a programme, and you can manage and look after Barry. Barry Fennell is our education manager here. And he goes to GAA clubs, he goes to schools, he goes wherever he's asked and wherever we think he's going to be useful. And we want to do that across the whole island of Ireland. And through Emer Curry, we've met with Feroiga, who are a wonderful organisation with many employees. Now, we're at the early stages of a conversation about this and how we help to roll it out. But I think we both have a will, both us and Feroiga, and with Emer driving us in the background, I think we're going to get something that will be really useful across all the counties on this island.
The problem is that Gambling with Lives is a very young charity, and money's a problem, so they have to constantly raise funds, this education program is free to all schools in Northern Ireland and in the UK. It's been rolled out more in Northern Ireland than the rest of the UK because it was piloted here, and they haven't really staff to roll it out.
But do you know what astonishes me is that people like yourself, Pete and Sadie Keogh, who lost their son, and others involved in gambling, gambling with lives, that you have to fundraise for this type of stuff. Like, surely the NHS or the HSE should be saying there's an epidemic here of gambling and the impact it's having. Let us drive these campaigns. Like, why should a group of bereaved families or others have to get the begging bowl out to tackle a serious public health issue? I would be embarrassed if I was collecting a politician's wage. I'd be embarrassed.
Well, we met with the Minister of Health, Minister of Education in Westminster, and they, very, very great platitudinous phrases they used us, but opening the pockets of government and handing us some money to do so, I'm afraid that's difficult.
Although in mainland UK, they do have centres now. Since we started campaigning, they do have centres, especially for young people who are addicted
so
to
there
gambling.
is progress, but we need to see this on our island here. And hopefully now these pilots that have been tried in Northern Ireland and with the work between the Northern Ireland agencies and the likes of Feroiga in the south, we will see this. That's your aim, isn't it? That's where you see if we can get this all Ireland, reaching young people, hopefully stopping people getting into this life, saving lives. That would be...
Awareness is really the key.
And we're doing that now, aren't we, Sadie? We're doing that now.
Yes.
Yeah.
This programme is great, Greg, and we really thank Highland Radio for contacting us. And, we've got this attitude, even though we're getting on in years, the more people contact us and the more chances we get to get that message out the better it is.
That's why we really ask people out there who have lost people to contact us or contact Gambling with Lives, because they're very good at giving people help and helping them work their way through, which we didn't have that.
Yeah, you had to do it yourselves, didn't you? Yeah. Okay, well, listen, Pete and Sadie, you're doing fantastic work. I'm so sorry that you lost your beautiful son. I really am. It's incredibly difficult. And as you said right at the beginning, Sadie, it changes everything forever, doesn't it?
Our lives changed
But
forever.
you're doing this in his name and to save, hopefully, other families from going through the awful situation that you have. But you clearly have each other. You look like a powerful couple, and you're not going to rest until you achieve your goals. So hopefully there's some comfort in that. And thank you so much for your time this morning. If there's anything else that you want to add.
You're very kind, Greg, and you've been asked very thoughtful questions. We appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
Have a lovely day, the two of you, and
You
best
too.
of luck
Thank
with the
you. You
campaign.
too.
And get back in touch with us as things progress. Okay, God bless you.
We will do. Thanks.
All right,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye. Take care. Okay, now there you have a delightful couple in Pete and Sadie Keogh there. They lost their son Lewis due to gambling-related suicide. If that's something you want to talk about on the show, you know yourself, 086 60 25,000. All right, back shortly.
The 9 till noon show with the Lennon Festival Ramelton from the 6th to the 10th of July. Experience the incredible ABBA sensations on Saturday the 8th. For ticket information, see Lennon Festival Ramelton on Facebook.
Buddy the Musical is back at the Millennium Forum from Tuesday 8th till Saturday 12th of August. Don't miss this multi-award-winning West End and Broadway smash hit musical. This is a show you'll never forget. Come and join the party. It's just Peggy Superb. Call the ticket hotline on 02871 264455 or visit millenniumforum.co.uk.
Beef farmers losing €300 per head. For more in your Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Our analysis reveals how much low factory prices are costing finishers. Farmers reject cow cull proposal as Minister lays blame at farm organisations' door. Will new peatland research be a game changer for re-wetting farms? The latest on dropping fertiliser and feed prices. Anger over strict rules for women in TAMS. Plus how to secure finance to build a farm shed.
And don't miss your free machinery magazine inside this week's Irish Farmer's Journal. On sale now.
Go full Lidl for a summer of savings just like our customers.
For me, being a new mammy, and especially when daddy's in work, it's handy for me to go grab some salads, grab some ready-made meals, everything like that. And then coming into summer, we'll hopefully have some good weather and get the barbecue rocking.
Yeah. Go on. Go full Lidl today.
Disney's The Lion King in Dublin. More to be seen than has ever been seen. Join Highland Radio on our trip on Thursday, 26th of October 2023 to see the award-winning Lion King the musical. Brought to you by Disney Theatrical Productions. Your trip includes luxury transfers, overnight stay at the 4-star City North Hotel Dublin on a bed and breakfast basis, and your ticket to the show. All this for just €219 per person sharing. Call 074 91 25,000 to book. A non-refundable deposit of €100 per person will hold your place. Single supplement applies. To see Disney's The Lion King in Dublin.
Okay, we are still in a situation that hundreds of small and medium-sized creches face closure over the next year as operators warn they cannot sustain losses while handcuffed, as they describe it, into a state-funded agreement that has ignored spiralling costs. And there was a protest outside Leinster House a little earlier this week. We'll tease this out now with Elaine Dunn, Chair of the Federation of Early Childhood Providers. Hi, Elaine.
Hi, good morning, and thank you so much for having me on.
No, it's good to have you on, and I think this is really an important area. I was speaking to some people high up in business in this part of the world, and they said that access to childcare is as big an inhibitor as housing and access to housing in terms of retention and recruitment. So it's a really big issue that ripples throughout the entire economy, I think.
No, absolutely, and it's going to have a massive impact on, in particular, people remaining in the workforce, because what we're seeing at the moment nationwide is the small and medium services are now starting to close down. We now know that over 150 services have already closed, and that's inside the Federation group itself, and we don't know how many outside, but we are hearing of a lot more outside as well. So this sector is actually imploding and nobody is listening. We have gone to the department and to Minister Gorman. We have given them solutions. This is our fourth protest. We're still going around in circles. He's not listening. Yes, he's put in 207 million, and yes, we really appreciate it. But your 207 million has not gone far enough to keep it viable and keep the sector open. And, there's no way parents are going to have the choice anymore of the type of service they can go to. So parental choice has been removed. The family is going to be impacted. The economy is being impacted. And we stood outside Leinster House last Tuesday, and so we were all women. It's a predominantly women-led sector, and there were women in floods of tears who have been forced to close the doors either last week or this week. It was horrendous to stand there and watch. It takes a lot for me to get emotional, and trust me, it was the most emotional day I've seen so far in this sector when you see broken women on a street begging for the support of government. And then you're seeing it's the nursing home sector's been affected as well. So there's two major sectors, elderly and the young, and they're the two most vulnerable sectors. And yes, we're the ones that keep the economy going and people in their jobs, so people can go to work, know their children are coming in, they're being looked after and nurtured throughout the day. And that is going to disappear. And
you talked about it primarily women in the sector. Let's face it too. It's still perhaps a majority of women that are affected in terms of career progression or work when there is no access to childcare. And you talked about a figure that's been invested in this sector, but really I think that sounds grandiose and fantastic, but really we get down to the kernel of the problem when we see how much we're spending on childcare compared to our European neighbours, and we fall far short in that regard.
Absolutely. We're at 0.3% GDP. We're miles behind. It hasn't changed. Even though there's all of this investment going in, it has not gotten any better for us. And that is the one thing they have to start looking at. Because when they come out and they say all of these millions, it sounds wonderful. And I'm saying this to everybody listening here today, 207 million sounds wonderful, but break it down. You see the larger services get a lot more because obviously they have a lot more children. And then you break it down to the small and the medium services, and it's making us unviable. I mean, you have to listen if that's happening, because not every parent wants to put their child into a full daycare service. They want to have the choice of a part-time service, and that choice has now been pulled away. And rural Ireland is taking a massive hit at the moment. And I know there are services closing in Donegal. Absolutely, they're closing.
Yeah, I know of them, Elaine. So to break it down in the most simplest of terms for us, Elaine, what is happening and what needs to change? Maybe that might help for all of us to understand this a little bit better, because it is a really complex area. And then when you start talking about part-time and full-time, even if you're a user, it can be really complicated on where you can miss out or not. And sometimes you have to put your child in for longer than you might even want to, etc. But in the most simple terms, Elaine, what is the problem? What needs to be done to fix it?
So the problem is that the department, first of all, they worked out our new funding models on a report that was done, a Crow report of 2017. So since 2017, the new funding model got introduced in 2023. That's a long time, a long space between 2017 and 2023. And we had a pandemic. We're in the European war. Inflation rate, everything went up. They didn't address that. That was not addressed. So then you're stuck now, and they are treating every single service as the same. And there isn't one service in this country that's the same as another. We all offer different types of services, believe it or not. I know that sounds like crazy, but we are all different. The number of children you might take in, the number of staff you have, the different outgoings, geographically, so all of that has to be taken into account. We have gone to our minister. We have given them the solutions. When we took to the streets the other day, we had decided we're going to turn the book. So we've asked them to come back out. You tell us what you want from us. Because obviously if you're closing down these services, maybe that's government policy. Maybe they want us gone and they want the mass services taken over the whole country. If they do, please tell us so that we can make business plans for our future. Because right now we can't even plan ahead for 1 month.
Yeah, it's like death by 1,000 cuts. If you want us out, let us know. I get where you're coming from.
Let us know.
Yeah, all right.
Absolutely.
Elaine, this culminated in the most recent protest at Leinster House. What happens next, though? What can you do?
So we do have plans, and there's a plan of action, and we're actually discussing it with our members this week. So the next plan of action is we're going to start off with a 3-day closure. And if after 3 days there's no solution, we will remain closed until something happens. We've no choice because we cannot watch and sit back and allow the government and government policy destroy this sector and bring a predominantly women-led sector down onto its knees. There is huge anxieties out there because we don't know where we're going with our businesses. Every business is supposed to have at least 3 months' wages in their banks at all times and to cover their bills as well. I can categorically tell you that does not happen in this sector. We are scrimping by month, and that's a fact.
Is it kind of happening that is it, Elaine? Is it kind of happening too that what happens is the smaller, medium-sized providers shut down, and then they get their staff, maybe to some extent, but certainly the children, where it's available, get consumed then by the bigger operators, you know, and what's happening is that sounds to me like, well, why should we worry about that? Because what we're looking to do kind of is working. I'm not saying that's what they are looking to do, but I know myself of a couple that have closed down, and then the staff don't get necessarily re-employed, but the children can get brought into the bigger providers. Now, they're not necessarily going to be in the right place, and parents are going to be inconvenienced and what have you, but that's what seems to be happening.
Look, it is happening in some areas, but not everywhere, because particularly in rural Ireland, and I've had parents on to us, and they are having to drive miles, you know, to get a place for their child, or else they're coming out of the workforce because they've no choice. I know of a creche here, I'm in Dublin, and a creche down the road to me is closed down for the whole week because they've got no staff to cover. So they've just closed the whole place. And that's happening around the country. We have a staffing crisis as well. And believe it or not, most of our staff that leave the sector, we did a survey recently, and most of the staff are going to work for the Department of Education and SNAs. So it's the different sectors are taking them away from us.
Yeah.
You know, we're trying to bring in more wages for staff and everything. We can only do that if the funding is coming in.
Yeah, it's crazy.
A lot of us have,
it sounds to me like the HSE going in recruiting out of private nursing homes. But anyway, you wanted to make a point.
It's exactly the same. Yeah. I do. It's just a lot of us with small and medium full day care services, we're stuck at a fee freeze going back to 2016, 2017, where the larger services were clever enough to continue putting up their fees throughout the years. And we didn't. So when the pandemic hit, none of us touched our fees. So we are literally, so when the department say, you must sign the core funding and you must sign a contract for your fees to be frozen at 2021. We're actually frozen at 2016, 2017.
Right,
and that's also, we're not on a level playing field.
Yeah, okay.
You know, and we brought this to the department.
Right, okay. Listen, Elaine Dunn, Chair of the Federation of Early Childhood Providers, thanks for your time this morning. I really do appreciate it. Mary Ward is owner of Slieve League. They were also down protesting at Leinster House this week. Mary, I mean, it's a difficult situation and a difficult environment to run a business. It is a business. It's a valuable and vital service and valuable in supporting the wider economy, and I wish the government would see the value in that. But Mary, how tough is it from your perspective?
Hello, Greg. I'm running our service for 23 years. Started up in September 2000. So when we started up, it was all about the children. It was all about helping the parents, get parents working, looking after their children, have a proper environment, good quality service. Now, over the years, we have worked very hard, great staff, great team in. We're all very passionate about what we do. But it's very sad to see 23 years later, we're actually in a worse position than we were all those years ago. Our main problem is funding. And just to give you an example, in 2010, the ECC preschool scheme came in for 2 years for preschool children. Now, the capitation we got then is exactly the same, and that's 13 years later, which is ridiculous given all the rising costs. That capitation should have went up, but inflation year on year hasn't changed.
Rising costs, expectation of better services and facilities, more oversight, more paperwork, more governing bodies. So everything is getting more onerous, but the pay stayed the same. Yes, and as Lena says now, the fee freeze came in. Bear in mind, we haven't risen our fees since 2016, which we tried to do to help, keep it balanced for parents. Our parents here locally are all hard working, but wages are minimum. Yep. So and unfortunately now we've been hammered because of that. So realistically, they brought in then core funding, but it's not bridging the gap. As you said, quite rightly so, all the other problems, staffing costs have risen. We are
encouraging graduate-led workforce, but our graduates, that's more staffing costs. We also are very over-regulated, huge administration burdens, a huge lack in training and professional development, and also support for children with special needs is very little to non-existent. We're just fighting all the time to get professional services in, speech and language, psychiatrists, the whole lot. Early intervention. It's a constant battle just to get our children.
Well, I just think it's a battle that the public need to join you in, Mary, because this affects all of us for all of the reasons that you've been outlining there. And I think, childhood providers, early childhood providers really do need to sort of maybe see a bit more support from the public, because without yous, many of us would be in a very sticky situation. Mary, thank you so much for your time. We're going to come back to that. Maybe you might join a panel with us, Mary, where we can dig deeper into that over a longer period of time. But that's Mary Ward there, owner of Slieve League, and that's based in Dunlow, and fair play to Mary and all of her staff for the great work that they do.
The 9 till noon show with the Lennon Festival Ramelton from the 6th to the 10th of July, featuring the talented Jimmy Buckley live on Sunday the 9th. Tickets are just €10 and pay at the gate.
At Centra, feel good and shop smart with great offers this week, like selected barbecue meats mix and match any 3 for €10. Fairy and Lenore fabric softener 83 wash and Cushelle toilet tissue 9 roll €5 each. And Casiero Del Diablo Cabernet Sauvignon and Sauvignon Blanc €9 each. Centra, live every day. Enjoy alcohol sensibly.
Join us in Austin Le Alton, Garda every Friday night this summer for Donegal's best night of music and dance, with one of Ireland's finest singer-songwriters and entertainers, Sinead Cramsey, on stage from 10 till 12. Why not come early and join us for our Friday night steak night offer? 2 delicious steaks for just €36, and stay overnight with bed and breakfast the following morning for just €70 per person. For reservations, call Austin Le Alton on 074 9135 267.
New this week at Home Store and More. All outdoor cushions are all half price. But better hurry, because when all the half price outdoor cushions are gone, they're gone. Also, all photo frames, all wetsuits and summer toys, and all outdoor heating are still all half price. But when all the half price photo frames, wetsuits and summer toys, and outdoor heating are gone, they're definitely gone. Drop by your local Home Store and More, or visit us online at homestoreandmore.ie. New store now open in Frascati Centre, Blackrock, Dublin. Home Store and More. A happy home.
The Saturday Shuffle is coming to you live this Saturday from Lidl Buncrana. Go full Lidl this summer with a family fun day. We have loads of fun activities for all the family to enjoy from 12 midday till 2 p.m. and incredible prizes to be won in store and on air. So join the Highland team this Saturday at Lidl Buncrana. Go on Buncrana. Go full Lidl today.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
OK, it is 11 o'clock. In fact, it's a minute past 11. Let's get a news update now, and it's over to Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. It's understood Garda and Donegal are trying to track down the family of a man who has been missing since the weekend in connection with an alleged assault in the Slieve League and Killybegs area. It's believed the man in his mid-60s is from Northern Ireland and may have been the victim of a serious assault. Searches have been ongoing in the area since Monday. Superintendent Karen Duffy from the Ballyshannon district has issued an appeal for information. The level of policing proposed for West Donegal is nowhere near enough. That's according to Donegal Senator Niall Blaney. Concerns have continued to be raised since new plans were put forward, which would see the Donegal Garda division amalgamate with Sligo and Leitrim to form a new division. Senator Blaney fears Garda resources across the county are going to be further depleted under the proposals. Members of the RT Executive Board will appear for a second grilling before an Oireachtas committee this afternoon. The Public Accounts Committee intends to pick up on some of the unanswered questions from yesterday's media committee hearings. Among the expected witnesses are former chair of the RT Board, Moya Doherty. A Donegal deputy is urging people intending to travel in the near future to check their passports immediately. Deputy Pierce Doherty says his office has seen a large increase in the number of people finding that their passports are out of date or that passport applications are taking longer than expected. He says some people have already missed holidays that were booked. Works are due to commence shortly at forests in East Donegal to enhance biodiversity. Culture plans to adopt a close-to-nature approach for the management of a number of forests in Ballybuffet and the Crossroads areas, including Drumbo, Craigan and Monellan. A public consultation is taking place tomorrow at Culture's Ballybuffet office between 2 and 5 o'clock. And burst water mains are affecting parts of Inishowen this morning. Repairs are currently being carried out in Fawn and surrounding areas, and further north in the peninsula in Mallinhead, Ballygorman and surrounding areas. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon.
All right, Michaela, thanks so much for that.
See the whole picture with ultra wide on iPhone 11. Join 3 today and get iPhone 11 for just $9.99 with 3 bill pay. Enjoy top-class speeds in Ireland's fastest 5G network. Offer ends soon. Visit in store or at 3.ie. 3 for a better connected life. €40 per month price plan. Subject to 24-month minimum term and annual price increase. Terms and conditions apply. Based on analysis by Ookla Speed Test Intelligence data Q3 to Q4 2022.
Right, just following on from our conversation with Kilmacrennan's Vicky. Greg, could you say a big congrats to Vicky and well done to all her teammates from Olivia and McGregor? No problem. Great to hear Amber Barrett on, and congratulations to her. Great ambassador for Donegal. She is a really great ambassador for Donegal. Right, so we've been flagging this to you for a couple of days. The state is facing a legal case over its decision to compel telecommunication providers to retain the data of all citizens due to, in inverted commas, security concerns. Justice Minister Helen McEntee obtained a High Court order requiring telecommunication service providers, that's your Three and your Vodafones, etc., to retain data, including user traffic and location data for 12 months, this to safeguard the security of the state. Now, she was able to secure this order because she was satisfied there existed a serious and genuine present or foreseeable threat to security of the state. It was held in private. There was no representation from any other concerned groups. It was in camera. We know nothing about it other than its outcome. TJ McIntyre is chair of Digital Rights Ireland. He joins us now. Good morning, TJ. Thanks for your time today. Where are your... I mean, firstly, to explain it to us, what actually what powers has the Justice Minister been granted through this order?
So basically, the telecoms companies have to store details of every text message you send, every call you make, i.e. where you were when you made the call, where you were when you sent the text, to whom you sent it, when it was sent, and so on. Every time you logged on or logged off to the internet. And they have to store that for 1 year. And then Garda and the Defence Forces can have access to that.
And why would you, or I'm not asking you to speak on behalf of Helen McEntee, of course, but this is for all of our security. We're facing threats. I mean, should we not be at least given that information for such a strong order?
Well, I'd agree with you. In fact, I'd go further. So for this order to be legal as a matter of European law, it has to be in relation to some specific identifiable threat, and it has to be time limited. You can't have these things indefinitely. Instead, what's happened is we've had this adopted on the basis of we don't know what, to continue for a year, and the suspicion has to be at the end of the year they'll come back to the High Court and they will get a rubber stamp of the same order to continue for following years, just putting this indefinitely into the future. And we've seen this before with the Offences Against the State Act, with the Special Criminal Court, all of these measures which were supposed to be temporary at the outset and have ended up being essentially permanent.
Yeah, and also, would we not need more information as to what they're going to do with it? Is it for general Garda operations? Is it to complement? To complement maybe access to CCTV data into the future? It really is of a significance that maybe we need another one of these Oireachtas committees to try and tease this out.
That's a very good point. So in theory, this is for national security purposes only. In other words, it can't be accessed for general criminal investigations. Now, there is a big grey area there as to what we mean by national security. We've heard state sources before now tell us that they view, for example, serious organised crime as potentially a threat to state security in some cases. Maybe this is something that could be used in relation to ordinary crime where maybe there's a link to dissident Republican groups. We don't know.
You say what confuses me is this the timing is quite interesting following on from the Graham Dwyer case, but presumably that case would not necessarily be classed as a threat to the state. Do you know what I mean? So I'd be interested in the relationship between this move, the findings in the Dwyer appeal, and as to what is going to happen going forward. That is an absence of information that's unacceptable in my view.
That's a really good point. So in theory, and if you take the assurances of the Minister for Justice, this shouldn't be available in any normal criminal investigation, including, for example, the Graham Dwyer case. And one of the reasons why, as you know, the Graham Dwyer appeal is currently underway, he's appealing against his conviction, is because of this legal uncertainty, because this law was adopted in the past to allow for this kind of information to be collected indiscriminately, accessed for criminal investigations across the board. And the European courts eventually said, no, you can't do that. You can't have mass surveillance of the whole population, except in these very, very narrow state security grounds.
And this, who is responsible? I mean, and I presume this is why an action might be taken to get these questions out into the public domain. But who is responsible for asking these questions of the minister? I mean, who is above her? I mean, we might get some calls from the opposition. I don't know. They haven't perhaps decided which way the wind's blowing on this yet. But you know, who can hold outside of the court system, can hold the minister to account in this move to say, look, there are some basic questions that we require answers to?
Again, I think that's a really good question. And the short answer is nobody. So in other jurisdictions, in the UK and Amsterdam, for example, you have very strong oversight for surveillance. In the UK, you've got the Intelligence and Security Committee of the Westminster Parliament, which can look at the security services in detail, assess what they're doing. You've got a special type of court, the Investigatory Powers Tribunal, that can look at surveillance and ask, is it legal? And it can do this in secret to avoid disclosure of confidential information. Similar type of setup in other jurisdictions like the Netherlands, where even an independent body that does all of these things. We don't have anything comparable in Ireland. The intelligence function isn't responsible to the Oireachtas. There's no Oireachtas committee that deals with this. The police, the policing authority doesn't have any function in relation to this. So state security measures are explicitly outside its remit. So the guards answer to the minister, and the minister essentially answers to no one.
Well, like, just to be clear, and I said this earlier on, TJ, I don't withhold any of my data, you know, on Google or Facebook or anything. I genuinely don't, because it's not something I'm particularly concerned about. But I am concerned about process. That's a personal decision to me, and it doesn't mean that everyone feels the same. I think, though, who is this judge? How was this judge chosen? What did they consider? Were they just signing off on what the minister said? Did they have anything to consider that opposed what the minister was proposing to them? Were they given an example of this threat that there is to this country? Very basic questions that I think require answers for any level of transparency in a democracy.
I think you're absolutely right. And I've heard informally that this took place in roughly an hour and a half, or just over an hour and a half worth of a hearing. Now, there are drunk driving cases which take longer than that to determine, never mind something of such gravity for the entire population. So I think it's very unsatisfactory. It's kind of giving, if you like, a veneer of a court procedure and the legitimacy we give to courts onto a procedure which doesn't look anything like a traditional court procedure.
I know for a fact, and this is not a slight against any particular individual or whatever, but both at the national and European level, Fine Gael representatives have been briefed to talk about cyber threats, and we saw that in the recent meetings that were hosted. Cybersecurity was a big push on. Is this related to that? Because I would have thought in terms of our cybersecurity, it would be external threats. But clearly it seems that the government believes that we're all a threat, or there's some sort of an internal threat. It's all sort of from the same parlance, the same sort of conversation. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist or right wing or anything like that, don't get me wrong. but I can't help but noticing that there seems to be some sort of a direction of traffic here, the destination to which I have yet to work out.
Well, one problem with Irish law is historically it's never actually defined what's meant by national security or state security. So you have this very vague power, and it can be exercised then on foot of this, in turn, very vague purpose. So, no, we don't know. I think there's a case for saying, yes, cybersecurity issues and the kind of threats you see with, let's say, the HSE attack, the HSE ransomware attack, should be regarded as state security measures. But the short answer is we simply don't know because the legislation doesn't say.
Yeah, and just so people are aware, with access to it's really quite limited data, but the way it's compiled, and I think you said it right at the very beginning, TJ, this gives very, very specific information about the activities and movements of anyone who has a phone. It's remarkable how accurate it can be in terms of pinpointing where you are, and of course all your communications can be stored. So what would be the nature of a challenge to this, TJ? I mean, are you going to progress that as chair of the Digital Rights Ireland, and what form might it take and how quickly might it move?
I think it's very likely we will bring a challenge. We've brought a challenge before to this type of legislation. We succeeded in the European Court of Justice in 2014 in getting essentially the precursor to this struck down as contrary to EU law. Now, how long it'll take us to bring a challenge is another matter. Unlike the Minister for Justice, we don't have access to endless amounts of taxpayers' money to waste on defending these measures. We're dependent on donations. That said, hopefully we'll be in a position to bring a challenge within a year or so, if not sooner.
Yeah, and I just thought an interesting commentary from James Lawless, who's the chair of the Justice Committee. He said he agreed with the Minister's move and said Ireland cannot be naive about national security threats. Well, in the absence of any information, is that naivety or ignorance? We simply don't know. And he said it's not incredible or implausible that there would be national security concerns, but share those concerns with us. I mean, that's very strong language, national security concerns. I think the public are big enough to be able to process whatever the minister might know. But give us some context. Even give us one example, not you, TJ, but what a national security concern might look like.
I think that's an absolutely fair point. And maybe add to that, if it's a special and limited national security concern, if it's a specific threat, which is what's required under European law, how are we going to know when it's over? Or is this simply going to be an annual assertion? The state has national security issues, therefore this should continue indefinitely into the future.
Well, some might feel the national security threat is someone having access to all of our personal detail for a year, at least on an individual basis. And as you say, that's likely to be a rolling 1 year situation. All right, TJ, listen, we'll see how things unfold. As I say, I don't think any of the questions or points I'm making or you're making are anti-anything. I think it's just literally saying, this could be of some concern. What are we talking about here? These aren't bold or rebellious questions. It's just give us some info.
I think you're absolutely right. Ultimately, the state attitude of, we know better and you, the public, just have to accept what we say isn't really going to wash with the population.
I don't think the Irish are prepared to be treated as mushrooms any longer. Okay, thank you, TJ. TJ McIntyre, Chair of Digital Rights Ireland. As I say, I'm not the model of this program or programs like this should be. Well, what are you talking about? What does this mean? That's what we're trying to get to the bottom of. We probably, most of us, more than happy to support this move if we have some understanding as to why it took place, why it was, who was the judge, how was the judge selected, why was it in camera, what did the judge consider, what opposing views or counter arguments, if any, are required, were put there. What is this threat? I don't think these are rebellious, unreasonable questions. I think that's sort of stuff that we. I think that's stuff that we are sort of kind of entitled to know.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till Noon Show with the Lennon Festival Ramelton from the 6th to the 10th of July. Save the date and gather your friends for an incredible lineup featuring Sharon Shannon, ABBA Sensations and Jimmy Buckley.
2 gig full fibre broadband from Virgin Media has landed in Donegal. Hear that, Aoife? Huh? Time to lose yourself in the latest Scandi crime series.
I have no idea what's going on here.
You should really put on the subtitles.
Fair point.
Whatever your genre, whatever way you play, Virgin Media is here. Switch today at virginmedia.ie. Virgin Media, it's playtime.
Subject to location and availability.
Inishowen Co-op, a one-stop shop for all your home, garden, DIY and agri needs. Premier brands, expert knowledge and great value. Whether you're building your home, painting a room or searching for a new washing machine, Inishowen Co-op have what you need and so much more. Visit us in-store and now online at inishowencoop.com.
Enhance your skills with SafeTech's part-funded training programs. At SafeTech, we provide courses including first aid, roadworks, people moving and handling, confined spaces, electrofusion and machinery training for Ireland and UK sites. Also online programs such as water hygiene, construction supervisors, safety reps and much more. If you have a group for training, SafeTech will go to you. Contact SafeTech today at safetech.ie and take the first step towards upskilling and safety compliance.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
It is 18 minutes past 11. A very good morning to you. How are you all getting on? And now some of your comments here. So sad what's happening to people with gambling addiction. Ads for it on TV all the time and in the newspapers, like that lady says, free bets to lure you in. And the ads feature on radio and on this radio station as well, just for absolute transparency. That's they're booked through an agency. That's just the way it is. Greg, there is an ad on radio and TV for the National Lottery saying that one can buy up to 12 months of the lottery. Is this series too? Yes, indeed it is. You can schedule it. Right, okay, next couple here. Greg, major problem at the moment is underage drinking. Local supermarket shops selling alcohol and vapes to underage with no thought or care. Person recently witnessed a boy roughly aged 13 buying vodka, several bottles at 3 p.m. in a big local shop chain store and wasn't questioned. Absolutely unacceptable. Needs to be a clampdown on this, and parental attitude is too accepting of kids drinking. And indeed, there was a recent study that shows exactly what you've just said, that we are becoming more tolerant of younger people drinking. All right, okay, let's go to Mark O'Donnell, a singer from beautiful Glenties. Mark, how are you getting on?
Hi, Greg, how are you?
I am doing good. Congratulations. Your version... no, it's all pleasure, my word. It's great. We're celebrating great Donegal success all this week, and just because there's so much of it. Right, you have a cover of The Real Things You to Me Are Everything, and it featured on Love Island. It's a massive TV show on ITV2 on Monday. Congratulations. How did that come about?
Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, no, it's been a whirlwind of a few days. So I got word on Monday night at 8:20 that my song was going to feature in that night's episode. So the panic was on, trying to get myself organised to watch it, because I had been following the show because I had sent emails back in January to the winter series of the show to try and see, just to kind of chance my arm at trying to get the song on the show. And I didn't have any success back in January, so I kind of said, you know what, look, we'll call it a day, we'll try again maybe in a few weeks for the summer series. And so I sent a few emails just trying again, and just luckily I got word back from some of the producers, and then that was it. All kind of started from there.
And was it just that one track you sent, or have you sent numerous tracks? And do you were you kind of in the selection process saying, look, I know how the show works, I know when they do cutaways and stuff, you know, you tailored your product really to what they might use?
Yeah, so something I love doing is kind of taking, those type of upbeat kind of songs and kind of maybe stripping them back a little bit and kind of putting my own twist on them, and maybe just kind of stripping it back to either just guitar or just piano. So you can kind of actually get a proper feel to the lyrics and that kind of thing. So I did that with two songs that I've released. I released my own version of Love Really Hurts Without You by Billy Ocean back in January. And I really loved that song, so I just thought I might as well get it out there. And then I decided then that I would record a second one. So I recorded a cover of myself singing it just on my phone. That's You to Me Are Everything. That was back in April, I think, early April, and I uploaded to TikTok, and it got 901,000 views.
Is that it?
Or something. Yeah, just that's it. Yeah, but that was amazing. I was so taken aback by that. So Just due to popular demand and the comment section and that, people asking me to get it released, I just decided, you know what, I might as well get it recorded professionally by my mate Paddy Malloy. He's from Glanty's as well. So I decided I might as well record it, and I released it, and thankfully it's gotten a great reception. And then I decided I might as well send the 2 songs into the Love Island team or the ITV production team to see if I could chance my arm again and just try again. And they got back to me, and so they have the 2 songs in their bank of songs for the show that they use.
So we can imagine, right, that they turn around the shows really quickly. They're putting the shows together in production. It's based on what happened the day before, you know, and they go, right, okay, this You To Me or everything's going to fit in perfectly here. So your other one's also on hold, so we probably could at some point then expect that to get some airplay before the season's out, because it's going to fit in to one of the scenarios on the show at some point.
Yes, of course. So basically they told me that they couldn't guarantee that they'd use either of the songs, and I had kind of accepted that. I was like, I'm so happy to even get this far that they've even considered my tracks. So when they told me that they were going to use You To Me or Everything that night on Monday night, I was ecstatic. I was so amazed.
It's fantastic, and they must love it because, of course, in advance they have to clear the rights and stuff as well. So they've obviously pre-approved it.
There was a few steps in the process first to just make sure everything was in order, just that it could be suitable for or suited to TV and all that kind of stuff. So you never know, they might use Love Really Hurts Without You in an episode to come, but to be honest, I'm just over the moon with what's happened already. So if something else happens in terms of Love Really Hurts Without You, if appropriate scene comes up that they will use it, I'll be absolutely delighted.
They even made a video for you.
I know, yeah, it's like my own personal music video.
Exactly, that saved you a fortune. And listen, this is not about becoming a millionaire overnight or anything. This is about exposure, and that's clearly something that you're all over, because you've got that relationship with your social media audience, and you know what they want, what goes viral. This is the next step here. This is to say, hold on, a song I recorded here has been featured on, you know, one of the most popular, if not the popular show in certain age demographics on British TV and Irish TV. So that is huge exposure for you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, I was just amazed at the fact that they used it in that particular scene, and it was such a lengthy scene. And usually the songs are kind of used in the background and like maybe like a scene transition, that type of thing. But it was like the main song of that day.
What a buzz!
Tyreek and Ella, which was amazing. You know.
Yeah.
You know, I have a few plans now to get my own original stuff recorded now in the future.
Because it's about capitalising on this now, Mark. I mean, this is a massive catapult forward. But you have to say, right, you have to make the most of this while the buzz is there, don't you?
Yeah, of course. So I've got a couple of more followers as a result of it, and I got added into the Love Island playlist on Spotify, which is huge. I'm delighted with that. So hopefully now the streams will go up a little bit with it as well. And yeah, I'm kind of looking forward now to the future and getting a few more projects in order, kind of recording some of my own original material. I love to write my own songs as well. So yeah, I'm going to be busy with that and balancing that and the teaching as well.
That's what I was going to say, you know. Yeah,
I just recently qualified as a primary school teacher, so I'm starting a new job in September.
And I mean this is a compliment. You look like you're in a school in 5th class.
Yeah, I am.
In 5th class. That's not because necessarily you look particularly young. It's just, you know, when you get really old or you start getting older, all of a sudden someone in their mid-20s looks 12. But anyway, listen, so what a year for you then. You've graduated, you're starting a new job in September, and you're getting songs featured on, as I say, in certain demographics, particularly amongst young people, the top show in Britain and Ireland. I mean, 2023, it's not going so bad so far. We're only halfway through.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just overwhelmed with all the support that I've been given or that I've got so far. And yeah, it's just, I'm kind of speechless the last few days. It just doesn't really feel real.
Brilliant. Well, it is. And we're going to listen to your version of You To Me or Everything. Thanks so much, Mark. Continued success. And we'd love to have you in studio at some point, maybe over the summer before you start your new job and sing a couple of tracks for us, maybe one of these and one of your own, if you'd be up for that.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
All right, take care. All right, bye-bye. That's Mark O'Donnell. In fact, we're going to be out and about a wee bit over the summer, maybe down that direction. Maybe you might come over, maybe on the Friday of the Mary from Dunloe show. Maybe it'd be a nice, not too far for him to travel. I think that would be a nice little gig if it suited him. Anyway, off air, we'll talk to Mark about that. So shall we hear this song that, as I say, reached a massive audience across Britain and Ireland and beyond? This is his version of You to Me Are Everything. It's originally from The Real Thing. This is Glenty's Mark O'Donnell.
Take the stars out of the sky for you. Stop the rain from falling if you ask me to. I'd do anything for you, your wish is my command. I could move a mountain when your hand is in my hand. Words cannot express how much you mean to me. There must be some other way to make you see. If it takes my heart and soul, you know I'd pay the price. Everything that I possess, I gladly sacrifice. You to me are everything, the sweetest song that I can sing, oh baby. To you I guess I'm just a clown who picks you up each time you're down, oh baby. Just a taste of love to build my hopes upon. You know you've got the power, girl, to keep me holding on. So now you've got the best of me. Come on and take the rest of me, oh baby. Though you're close to me, we seem so far apart. Maybe given time, we'd have a change of heart. If it takes forever, girl, then I'm prepared to wait. The day you give your love to me won't be a day too late. So you to me are everything, the sweetest song that I can sing, oh baby. To you I guess I'm just a clown who picks you up each time you're down, oh baby. Oh baby. Just a taste of love to build my hopes upon. You know you've got the power, girl, to keep me holding on. So now you've got the best of me. Come on and take the rest of me, oh baby. Oh baby. I would take the stars out of the sky for you. Stop the rain from falling if you ask me to. I'd do anything for you, your wish is my command. I could move a mountain when your hand is in my hand.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com.
The 9 till noon show with the Lennon Festival Ramelton from the 6th to the 10th of July, bringing you the super talented Sharon Shannon on Friday the 7th. See Lennon Festival Ramelton on Facebook for ticket information.
Summer reductions on your favourite brands at Brian McCormick Sports, Brooks and Asics with 20% off. Check in-store and online. Brooks Glycerine and Adrenaline 22 GTS save 20%. Asics Keanu 29, Asics GT 2011 save 20%. Get ready for the summer and save 20% off your favourite kids' Asics trainers. Look the part, play the part. In-store and online. Click and collect on bmcsports.ie.
Do you need a little extra help staying in your home? At Bluebird Care, we offer a wide variety of QMark approved personalised home care services across Donegal. And our fully trained and committed staff will always meet your care needs with kindness, compassion and dignity. To get your personal home care assessment plan, visit bluebirdcare.ie or call our care team today on 07491 29562 and bring care home.
It's the Donegal Town Summer Festival from June the 30th to July the 2nd. 3 days of great entertainment, including live music on Saturday from Paul Ward, Bon Jovi tribute, Slippery When Wet, and the Ultimate Queen tribute. On Sunday, enjoy Honor, the Tumbling Paddies, and Nathan Carter. See Donegal Town Summer Festival on Facebook, supported by Donegal County Council and Fáilte Ireland.
Okay, so we got a text in from a listener saying, "Hi Greg and team, I wonder would it be possible to discuss the cruise ships coming to Donegal. As far as I'm aware, when the ships dock at Killybegs, the local shops and businesses benefit from it. But when they come ashore at Greencastle, the town is full with buses and taxis whisking the passengers away to Derry and Antrim and beyond. They say not one passenger that I know of actually spends time in Greencastle or Moville or anywhere else in the peninsula or Donegal. It's a real shame that local businesses cannot benefit from this massive arrival of tourists. Can there be any way to share the wealth? I don't begrudge anyone benefiting from tourism trade, but the landing spot losing seems unfair." Right, okay, so we're not here to stir up anything. It's just to get some answers to questions like that, because there's always an answer. And Anna's going to help us with this one. Anna's one of the tour guides on those trips yesterday. So I suppose, Anna, first and foremost, as an island, it's great, and particularly as in the region, Northwest as a region, it's great to see us being included for stopovers and to because hopefully these people come back and visit in a different way down the line, Anna. It's huge for the area.
Yes, it is huge, but I have had this said to me on a number of occasions too, Greg. They come in and they're bussed out. And first of all, I've been doing this for over 20 years, and this is my experience. Now, I think perhaps the person that maybe phoned in or something was referring particularly maybe to Greencastle. And this is maybe not, but perhaps. So it's not true to say that nobody benefits by this. First of all, you have a fleet of buses, 10, 15, 20 buses. All those buses, companies, are being paid for that. There's drivers on those buses, and there's guides on those buses. So there's three things in particular that costs a lot of money. If they book into various venues, which they do, those venues have to be paid. For instance, you take the Famine Village, for instance. Take the Famine Village in Donegal, which is one of the Greencastle routes. I'm just talking now about the Greencastle ones, not the others. I'll talk in a minute or two about Killybegs as well, which I have done over the years. And you have Glenveigh, you have the Folk Park, you have various places that they book into. So those things have to be all paid for as well. So it's not true to say that nobody is benefiting from it. With regard to the shops, now say for instance, which is a small fishing village, lovely little village, they can't dock there. Obviously, they're launched in from there. Now, can you imagine 300 people, for instance? Take for instance, there are about 10, 12, 13, 14 buses, and there are about I had 42 yesterday, but that's another story. And can you imagine all those people that are going on those buses arriving in Greencastle Village? What are they going to do? Some of them, of course, they're always interested in history. There isn't any shops for a start off in Greencastle except one little shop. The same applies to Moville. There are no shops in Moville. There are certainly restaurants. There might be an odd grocery shop and that.
And am I correct in saying too that when you go on a cruise, when you disembark for the day trips, you choose whether or not you're going to go? So those landing in Greencastle would have been told, right, today, and I'm just giving examples, we've got a trip to the internationally recognised Ulster Folk Park, or we've got a trip to Glenveigh, and then people decide whether or not that might be of an interest to them. Perhaps how many would disembark if we were to say, well, we've got a couple of two beautiful villages, not an awful lot maybe there, but you can amble around them. How many would disembark? That's probably part of it as well, is it?
That is certainly part of it. And the other part of it is that even in a town, and I'll talk later about Donegal town, even if there are shops, people do not buy things. I've been doing this for over 20 years, and I have yet to see one individual coming onto my coach with a bag full of anything. And I mean that because the reason for that is that people who are on cruise ships, first of all, most of them are elderly people, retired people who are just out to enjoy the cruise and to enjoy the history. They have shops on board. They don't need to go into shops to shop. They can get all the little trinkets that they need or souvenirs on board the ship.
Now,
and they don't have to carry them around with them.
In the Killybegs
experience, always very interested in the history of the place.
Now, if they get off at Killybegs, obviously we've got the high sea cliffs in Europe. There's Donegal Town. There's the castle. There's the Four Masters Monument. Even maybe if it coincides, there's the water bus, or maybe they just might think Donegal Town's a nice little quaint place to visit for pictures. Is it less of a challenge bringing them locally out of Killybegs than it might be out of Greencastle? Then is the question.
How do you mean less challenging?
Well, in other words, you've the stuff to do locally.
Well, I'll tell you what. When you go into, I have done Killybegs as well for a number of years. They go into Donegal Town, and yes, you're right. Their interest is in history and the way of life here, the cost of houses, what's growing in the fields, the peat, the bog, the education system, what is the employment rate, and what do people work at. And one particular thing, an amusing thing, is usually because you have got people who have never seen a field of sheep in their life. They're out of cities somewhere. And they remark about what's grown in the fields, and they remark about the sheep and the colours. You know how the colours are on sheep for various reasons.
Why is that?
And I always have a bit of an amusing story with regard to that.
Well, Anna, just
with regard to the colours on the sheep.
Yes, I can imagine. I only have a very short amount of time then, but I want to put it to you then. Do we need to be then saying, right, what can we, in a coordinated way, develop in Inishowen for this market then? Is that a piece of work that could be done?
We have so much. We have what the people want. We have the scenery. We have the history. And particularly, yesterday my tour was into the city of Derry. And we went to Iskaheen View. They love to see the views of the city. We took them to the murals. They want the story of the murals and the troubles in Derry. We took them to the museum where they were told about the Spanish Armada. And we just took them for a little stroll around. They just love the history. They're not out on a shopping spree.
Understood.
But there are so many people who do gain from these things.
I get you.
Such as the museums. And I could be here for...
Well, it depends whether you want to... I think it's the northwest economy, maybe we have to look at this then, rather than a village or a town. Anna, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it. And hopefully that addresses some of the concerns from that listener.
The 9 till noon show with the Lennon Festival Ramelton from the 6th to the 10th of July. Experience the incredible ABBA sensations on Saturday the 8th. For ticket information, see Lennon Festival Ramelton on Facebook.
For the biggest names into perfume and aftershaves, visit McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. Dolce & Gabbana, Paco Rabanne, Carolina Herrera, Calvin Klein, Jimmy Choo and Burberry, Ariana Grande, Jean-Paul Gaultier, Vera Wang and many more. From timeless classics to celebrity favourites, there's a perfume or aftershave for everyone at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny and online at mcgees.ie.
Wake up, wake up. The Easy Living Furniture Summer Sale is on with up to 50% off all mattresses, pillows and mattress protectors, with a huge selection of mattresses that are exclusive to Easy Living Furniture and 0% interest-free finance available. Now is the perfect time to gift yourself the mattress of your dreams. Speak to one of our sleep specialists today. Summer sale now on with all mattresses reduced in Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
Donegal Town Hardware are having their Customer Appreciation Day this Saturday with incredible in-store offers. Kids face painting, ice cream van, tea and coffee, and the chance to win a Palermo corner sofa set with storage and fire pit worth over €1,300. Join us and the Dulux dog at the Donegal Town Hardware's 25th anniversary free family fun event this Saturday the 1st of July from 11 a.m.
Buddy the Musical is back at the Millennium Forum from Tuesday 8th till Saturday 12th of August. Don't miss this multi-award-winning West End and Broadway smash hit musical. This is a show you'll never forget. Come and join the party. It's just Peggy Superb. Call the ticket hotline on 02871 264455 or visit millenniumforum.co.uk.
Okay, the RTE executive faced 4 or 5 hours of stern questioning yesterday in front of our Oireachtas committee. They faced another grilling a little later on today. Amongst those asking questions was Labour spokesperson on arts, media and workers' rights, Senator Marie Sherlock, who's been on this show before, of course, again, and joins us now. Marie, how are you getting on?
Good morning, Greg. Good morning to all your listeners.
Good to have you on board with us. Right, okay. How do you rate the executive's performance yesterday?
Well, I think there was enormous frustration yesterday. There was obviously a huge degree of expectation that we would be somewhat clearer as to what exactly has happened in RTE. And I suppose the reality is that there are still so many questions outstanding with regards to culture, with regards to decision making, with regards to accountability within RTE. And I think there was, I posed a number of questions to the Chief Financial Officer, to the Head of Commercial, and frankly, the answers back about people not having a paper trail of unusual transactions, accounts of senior management effectively not communicating with each other about extraordinary circumstances, is frankly not good enough. I think it was quite telling that the chair, when I asked her about whether she presided over a dysfunctional executive, effectively confirmed that, yes, she is. And that's
but they also confirmed that in the process of answering questions, in that with everything that's gone on, with how negotiations are carried out, it was confirmed that the chief executive, nor the acting, nor the what's the role of D Forbes? What's
Director General.
Director General, or the acting Director General knew if Patrick Kilty had actually signed a contract. Both of them had to go, well, we don't know. I don't know that. And then it was the Chief Financial Officer that says, yes, we do, which demonstrated that this remains a dysfunctional executive where the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. That unfolded directly before our eyes.
And that was a really remarkable moment yesterday where people had to look to each other to try and get answers. And I suppose, look, the reality here is that we have got, the national broadcaster, 1,800 people, the vast majority of whom go in, day out in the public service, like many of the independent radio stations like yourselves, to provide that service to people. And yet we have, unfortunately and very sadly, people at the top of the organisation at sixes and sevens with regards to their role. As I say, there are very clear questions now with regards to culture, with regards to accountability. And, after the...
Can you have faith in that executive? Sorry, Marie, just to move it on a little bit, if you don't mind. Can you have faith in that executive in that?
Well, that's what I was going to say, Greg.
Yes.
And so we actually issued a statement last night on foot of the 4.5 hours hearing yesterday to say that there needs to be very serious reform now of the executive in RTE. And I think certainly Siúni Rahalig admitted yesterday or acknowledged that there does need to be dramatic reform in order to reinstill confidence in the national broadcaster. Because the reality is that if we are serious about public service broadcasting in this country. If we do not want to go down the road of having a toxic situation like we have in Britain, or indeed in particularly in the United States, where there isn't that same sense of public service broadcasting, then we need to see investment in RT, and of course that has an impact right across the broadcasting sector.
But I don't. But
the thing is, at the moment, the conditions are not right for that within RT.
Yes, but that executive doesn't seem competent enough to steer that ship. That's my point to you. It's not only has it proven to be dysfunctional, but I think yesterday it proved they're incompetent on the basics. Like, there was one, like, the important questions were not answered in relation to what was the circumstances that we had these invoices being made out for consultative fees. If I'm not mistaken, Geraldine O'Leary was in on that. And of all the things that happened yesterday, the one lapse in memory was as it relates to that issue, as to why, who, or what led to these invoices being raised as consultative services. That was the only thing where there appeared to be a lapse of memory. One of the critical points of this entire process.
So there are many parts to this whole fiasco, Greg, that make very little sense. Why there was an end of contract clause in Ryan Tubridy's contract for somebody who's there over 20 years, and to think that there was this additional thing put in, the guarantee that was given verbally by the then Director General, the effort to try and pay to make good that guarantee, which RT should never have given to the commercial to Ryan Tubridy and his agent, and then this sense of urgency that we learned of yesterday to try and sort out these fees and to channel it through a barter account, which anybody listening to your show this morning who has any knowledge of how finance department works, no matter how small or how large an organisation, there are things that have to be channeled through the finance department. Yes, this was a barter account that stood outside the finance department, but there was efforts 2 years ago. So while some of these things were going on, to actually bring that barter account onto the balance sheet.
Also,
it seems to be the case that the financial officer, there was he admitted as such yesterday that there was information, I suppose it might have been rumour or whatever it was, about these unusual transactions last year. But action was only taken in March of this year.
Yeah, and we'll get to that. I want to get to that timeline. There's 3 issues that I want to cram in the last few moments that we have. What concerned me most, and it went unchallenged, is the Acting Director General justified the current high rates of pay for the top talent, in inverted commas, which is a phrase I'm not terribly comfortable with. He said that it was based on what they believed that they could get paid in Britain or North America. Now, that to me is, when you have the acting Attorney General, that's escaping me. I'll get back to that in a second. Director General. When you've got the Acting Director General stating, justifying those paid wages, not saying they're going to come down necessarily in the future. He justified them because he believes that is the type of money they could command internationally. And again, no one picked him up on this. Ryan Tubridy, who I have no issue whatsoever with, was unsuccessful in trying to break into Britain as a stand-in for Graham Norton on BBC Radio 4. He did it for one summer, was never invited back. If that is what the Acting Director General believes is the justification for these big wages, if he believes that and he's in that position, that for me is a very, very serious concern.
So I think, Greg, I think there's a few things there. Firstly, the Acting Director General will be no longer in that role as of next month.
But it's cultural.
And Bathurst is due to assume that role. I asked the question directly of Shuni Rahalik, the chair, yesterday, about the business model in RTE, because it's important to understand that there are many people on very modest or indeed very low incomes in RT who come in as contractors, come in as freelancers, or on fixed term contracts. And in order to be made a permanent employee, they have to go through a really arduous process, right? Called the contract review group. And yet on the other side, we have this opaque process whereby fees are negotiated via agents. And the reality is that very high fees have been justified on the basis that, the persons could be poached by the BBC or elsewhere. Yet none of that has played out over the last 30 years. There's been only 2 defections, high-profile defections from RT since the advent of Century Radio, and that's 30 years ago now. And Shuni Rahalik said something really telling yesterday. She said she had concerns about that. She said oftentimes RT was bidding against itself.
I thought that was important, but also...
And she said that she's had conversations with the incoming Director General, Kevin Backhurst, with regards to the relationship with agents and indeed how fees are set. So I think the key thing here from all this...
I get you, but if you don't...
We have this conversation, but in order... Well, we need to have it so that we have a stronger RTE
all right.
at the end of it all, and a fairer one.
Again, should this executive be in place, not only did they accept the resignation of Dee Forbes, precluding her from being compelled to go into the Oireachtas and answer questions, they asked for her resignation. That was accepted. No one on that executive said, right, if we accept this resignation now, it precludes her being compelled before that. Also, there is statutory notice, I believe, in this country, dependent on the amount of time you serve, is that you have to give notice of your resignation. Was that waived? Who waived it? It stinks like a cover-up, Marie, and I think that requires far more scrutiny and accountability, because they've robbed the Irish people of access to the one person or one of 2 or 3 people that can answer these questions. So you've got another person who's there going, I don't remember. And the person that could answer these questions, the executive themselves, by accident or design, have construed a scenario where we can't ask Dee Forbes these questions. That is a sackable offence in my view.
So I think, Greg, the first thing is that Dee Forbes has issued a medical letter, or her doctors have issued a medical letter to the committee, and she is out sick at the moment. And I think, there needs to be respect, and we need to be very careful about demanding that she's in front of a committee.
Go back a week.
Sorry, Greg, let me finish the point, right? Because there's 3 points you've made there. So number one, she's out sick at the moment. She absolutely has to answer questions. And I've been saying this on the record all week, both Dee Forbes, but also previous Director Generals, because this isn't just, this fiasco does not just cover her time as Director General, but also the previous Director General, Noel Curran, as well. So that's number one. Number two, in terms of the resignation, I think there are very serious issues now about when we actually learned yesterday at a very late stage of the committee that actually her resignation had been sought much earlier than any of us knew or assumed. And I think in terms of your point about notice period, now the employment lawyers can correct us on this, but yes, there are notice periods, but an employer can waive a notice period.
That's my point. That's my point. Who waived it and why did they waive it? The
Director General is reportable to the
but
chair,
her departure from RT was fast-tracked.
Pardon?
Her departure was fast-tracked.
Well, look, I think the thing is, going back to the point I've just made there, it is absolutely vital that she does provide a comprehensive account, because look,
she's not compelled to anymore. That's my point,
She has rejected RT's account. Like, as in, there was a statement issued at the start of this week where she, effectively has said that, what RT has previously said at the end of last week is not correct.
Okay, and finally then, do you not think it quite interesting that the Acting Director General changed his position on Ryan Tubridy's contractual status during the course of that hearing? Do you not think that's really quite interesting?
Well, Greg, I'm still unclear as to what Ryan Tubridy's contractual status is.
He's currently contracted, he's currently paid, and has the Acting Director General corrected himself and said towards the end of the hearing that he still has a radio contract. Earlier in the hearing, he said he has no contract, that the radio contract had terminated with the TV contract, and he's currently out of contract because the negotiations have been paused. He changed his testimony to that committee midway through it.
Yeah, no, and that's why I'm saying I think we're all still confused. And Ryan Tubridy, it is reported that there was a statement from him yesterday. I have not seen that yet, that he rejects, it was certainly reported in one of the main newspapers, that he rejects what RT is saying about his contractual status. So I don't believe that and I think this will be one of the questions for the Public Accounts Committee today, to get absolute clarity on what his contractual status is. And I think, as you referred to at the start of this piece, there was confusion yesterday about the status of Patrick Keelty's contractual situation with RTE. So I think that in itself is telling. But I think, Greg, what's really, really important here is that this is a crisis that's going to keep on giving and giving. Like, I asked a question yesterday about whether there are those outside of the top 10 who are in receipt of top-ups or side deals. Now, I asked each of those attending the hearing yesterday. They all said no, but I think we need to be very clear about that, right? And I think there's still so many questions. And ultimately, in order for this crisis to move on, in order for the public to have, I suppose, to renew that confidence in the national broadcaster, we need to see very significant change at the top of RTE.
All right, and listen, I think we need a national broadcaster. Well, I don't think it. I think that's what a lot of people think. I think also we need to look at the other elements of what we fund, i.e. the likes of, and I've said it before in this programme, 2FM, etc., whereby it doesn't serve, there is no public service element to that. It's actually a competitive advantage to the independent sector. We could start saving money that way. Yes, you probably need your RTE1s, but I mean, in terms of paying for Network 2 to do reruns of Dr. Phil, and also, paying for a rival to independent commercial stations in the likes of 2FM, personally, I don't see where the public is served in that. But anyway, that's Marie. Thanks.
We need a vibrant broadcasting sector. I think this is the thing, okay. And I think both independent and public broadcaster need to be supported. Like, that's ultimately the crux of really what we need to aim towards here. But getting the house in order in RT, has to be done first, because I think all those issues about future investment are unfortunately put on hold now because of the debacle that we're currently experiencing.
Lovely to have you on the show as always, Marie. Take care of yourself. All right, bye-bye. That's Senator Marie Sherlock there. Right, now, Ella Doherty is the winner of our tickets to the Elemental premiere. You're going to a premiere, Ella. You're going to take your three sisters, and you'd love the day out. And you're in Mayville. We've picked you. And the 6 years, we're going to put 6 tickets together for you to choose who's going with you. All right, well done, Ella Doherty from Mayville. You won that. Okay, see you tomorrow, Friday. All the usual stuff. Looking forward to it already. Bye-bye.